Chapter 650. Directly advancing to lawful embodiment of heaven and earth? There's actually such a divine item? Xing Hui looked at the limitless Tao fruit with a look of astonishment. This is also the reason why the heavenly Tao and eternal did not hesitate to cross the cosmos to attack my divine wilderness. Other than the production of Tao charms, our divine wilderness has many other mystical properties. For example, this limitless Tao fruit is one of the mystical properties that have been passed down since ancient times. It is said that there were 3 limitless fruit trees in the divine wilderness back then. The fruits on the limitless fruit trees ripen once every 108 years, and each time they ripen, there will be 81 Tao fruits. Unfortunately, with the destruction of the divine wilderness, the 3 limitless fruit trees also collapsed and disappeared into the annals of history. This limitless Tao fruit in front of me was obtained from an ancient cave abode. Venerable Firmament handed the limitless Tao fruit to Xing Hui. Take it and refine it immediately. You already have combat strength that is not weaker than an ultimate expert. If you can refine the limitless Tao fruit, your understanding of the laws of heaven and earth will definitely deepen. When the time comes, even if you don't enter the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth state, your combat strength will increase by 30 to 40%, or even 40 to 50%. In fact, this is also the reason why lawful embodiment of heaven and earth experts are stronger than ordinary almighties. 30 to 40%, Xing Hui nodded. Don't underestimate this 30 to 40% increase. It had to be known that ordinary Saint Realm powerhouses were only 4 to 5 times stronger than almighties. However, in a true life and death battle, even if dozens of almighties swarmed at them, as long as the Saint Realm powerhouses didn't choose to fight to the death, they would still have a way to kill these almighties one by one. An increase of 30 to 40% was already enough to give an almighty a significant advantage when dealing with another almighty. I hope you can successfully step into lawful embodiment of heaven and earth when you come out of seclusion. Venerable Firmament said with a smile. Lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. Xing Hui nodded. However, he was still somewhat unsure if he could step into the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. The ultimate sword Tao seemed to have skipped the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth stage. In other words, he had skipped the stage of deriving the divine ability to the extreme and resonating with the laws. However, he would have to wait until he saw the effects of the limitless Tao fruit before coming to a conclusion. Xing Hui immediately expressed his gratitude and bid farewell to Master Tianqiong and Master Zhongjin before returning to his own courtyard. When he arrived at the courtyard, he did not deliberately inform the others and directly entered his cultivation room. In the cultivation room, Qing Su carefully thought about the restriction from the laws of the world when he used the saint technique to create the Sword of Sunburst. Only after gaining a vague understanding of the restriction did he take out the fruit of infinite ways and ingest it in a single gulp, refining it into his body. The limitless Tao fruit was called a Tao fruit, but in reality, it was a manifestation of energy. It just looked like a fruit. As soon as Xing Hui swallowed the limitless Tao fruit, he immediately sensed the power of the limitless Tao fruit endlessly seeping into his body, causing his body to quietly undergo changes. Under these changes, his perception of the laws of the world increased significantly. If the laws of the world were like air in his eyes before, only when he ran at full speed could he feel their existence through the cool breeze brushing against his face. But now, the air in front of his eyes had become flowing, constantly blowing against his body, making the existence of the laws of the world within his reach. This limitless Tao fruit is really extraordinary. Xing Hui carefully sensed it, and his eyes flashed with amazement. The most important thing in the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth stage is to integrate oneself into the laws of the world, so that the laws of the world no longer become one's shackles, but instead become one's driving force. Simply put, it's to let the cool breeze in front of me become the driving force behind me, pushing me forward even faster. Xing Hui brandished the scarlet sword a little. Even without using the divine art, he could feel the restrictions and influence of the laws of the world on the scarlet sword when he brandished it. However, being able to feel it was one thing, but without the divine art, it was still quite difficult to break the shackles. Integrating with the laws, being supported by the power of the laws of the world. Xing Hui tried a few swords. Although the laws of the world had reduced the resistance to his swordsmanship because he had become extremely sensitive to the laws of the world, it was still a long way from being able to turn the power of the laws into driving force to enhance his swordsmanship. Furthermore, Xing Hui had to completely calm his mind and even slow down his attack speed to be able to reduce the resistance to his swordsmanship. But to slow down his own speed, could the light-chasing divine art still be effective? The lawful embodiment of heaven and earth stage is really a little useless. If it's just pure defense, it can be effective, but in a fight, it may not be much stronger than an ordinary almighty. At best, it can only rely on its understanding of the laws to be 30 to 40% stronger than an ordinary almighty. Xing Hui shook his head. Taking advantage of the fact that the effects of the limitless Tao fruit had not completely disappeared, he continued to immerse himself in the comprehension of the laws of the world, trying to deepen his understanding of the laws as much as possible. A month passed in the blink of an eye. After a month of meditation, Xing Hui's understanding of the laws of the world had deepened, but he was still a little far from being able to use the laws of the world for his own use. At best, he could achieve a situation where the laws of the world did not pose too much of an obstacle when he attacked with all his strength. But even so, according to his calculations, the power of his Sword of the Sun was still 40% stronger than before, especially the speed of his attack. If he were to face another Saint Powerhouse, unless that Saint Powerhouse was fully prepared, he would be able to instantly kill that Saint Powerhouse with the power and speed of his Sword of the Sun, using the power of the laws of the world to strengthen oneself. Ordinary peak Saint Powerhouses rely on the power of the laws of the world to strengthen themselves, or more accurately, they rely on the power of the bloodline and the power of the spirit. The power of the laws of the world is said to be the power of the laws of the world, but I've already refined the power of the Golden Crow and the power of the Torch Dragon into the Scarlet Abyss Sword, so how could I have the power of the bloodline? Xing Hui shook his head and stopped cultivating. It seems that I have to ask the Hidden Sword Venerable about this matter. After all, the Hidden Sword Venerable is an lawful embodiment of heaven and earth cultivator. With that thought in mind, Xing Hui headed to the Hidden Sword Venerable's courtyard. While he was on the way, Xing Hui saw the Firmament Master's disciple, Qin Guang, coming down. He bowed respectfully to him and said, "Master, Master invites you." Xing Hui guessed that it was about the true God of suffering, so he nodded and followed Qin Guang to the Firmament Master's palace. "Xing Hui, you're here. How's it going?" The Firmament Master asked eagerly as soon as he saw Xing Hui. "I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. Although I've come into contact with the laws of the world, I still can't merge with them and enter the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth state." "You can't enter the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth state? That shouldn't be possible." The Firmament Master frowned in confusion. "Maybe my foundation is too weak. I think it'll be better if I spend some more time carefully comprehending it." Xing Hui was rather calm. The Firmament Master nodded and said, "Then you'll have to cultivate well." After that, he signaled Qin Guang with his eyes. Qin Guang immediately left with his people. After the servants left, the Firmament Master walked to the center of the hall and waved his hand. Instantly, dozens of big boxes appeared and piled up in the hall. These are the 1,500 Taoist items that the Black Flame sect used to redeem the true God of suffering. It seems like the Black Flame sect is very rich. They actually managed to gather 1,500 Taoist items in such a short time. Xing Hui was a little surprised. The Black Flame sect can't afford to lose a divine being. However, I reckon that the Taoist item with 1,500 Taoist rhymes has already depleted the Black Flame sect. If a chaos war were to break out between the Black Flame sect and a top chaos organization at this time, the Black Flame sect would definitely be defeated. Because of this, they seem to be very enthusiastic about joining our alliance. During the negotiations a few days ago, our Sky Dome sect, Sword Shadow sect, and Rainbow Sword sect had benefited greatly. Xing Hui nodded and said, "It's good that I can help. Keep these Taoist items. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to control myself when the time comes and take them for myself." The Firmament Master said with a smile, I believe in the Firmament Master's character. The Firmament Master shook his head and said, I'm telling the truth. Not everyone can resist the temptation of 1,500 Taoist rhymes. If you're not an ultimate powerhouse but an ordinary almighty, I'll most likely use the Firmament Master as an excuse to temporarily keep them for you. Never underestimate people's greed. Xing Hui nodded thoughtfully when he heard that. An item with 1,500 Taoist rhymes was definitely enough to cause a life-and-death battle between two divine beings. It should be known that the war that destroyed the divine wilderness in the ancient times was also caused by an item with 1,000 Taoist rhymes. Although the Heavenly Way and the Eternal Emperor's conspiracy played a part in that war, it also indirectly proved how valuable an item with 1,000 Taoist rhymes was. Seeing Xing Hui put away the Taoist items, the Firmament Master forcibly suppressed the distracting thoughts in his mind. Then, as if he had thought of something, he suddenly said, By the way, Xing Hui, I remember you saying that you took back the Kongli continent from the Heavenly Way? That's true. Then you have to pay attention. Recently, the Heavenly Way experts have been very active and have sent many experts to the Kongli continent. Since it's outside the divine wilderness, we didn't pay much attention to it. We only said that the leader is the Thunder Punishment Taoist Master, who was previously in charge of the Kongli continent. There hasn't been any news that Zhu Zhao has stepped into the insightful Void Realm yet, so it's not appropriate for us to start an all-out war with the Heavenly Way. If the Kongli continent doesn't have much to gain from it, let's put it aside for now. Of course, if the Heavenly Way forces us into a corner, with our current influence, we don't have to be afraid of it. I understand. I'll contact my men on the Kongli continent and ask about the specific situation. As Xing Hui spoke, he sent a part of his consciousness into the Chaos Temple to contact Su Fei. Chapter 651. Xing Hui arrived at a personal space specially created for the members of the Heavens Will Palace on the Kongli continent. An unfamiliar man was waiting there. The man was slightly taken aback when he saw Xing Hui, but he quickly bowed. Greetings, Senior Dongyang. Tell Su Fei to come see me. Su Fei? Palace Lord Su? The man was slightly taken aback, but he quickly bowed. I'll inform the Palace Lord right away. Less than 20 breaths after the man left, a beautiful figure appeared in the personal space. However, it wasn't Su Fei, but the other leader of the Heavens Will Palace, Su Ying. Su Ying quickly bowed when she saw Xing Hui. Senior, Father has been in the Bieli mountain range recently and hasn't returned yet, so he can't pay you a visit right away. Bieli mountain range? What's he doing there? Xing Hui wasn't from the Kongli continent, so he wasn't familiar with the names of the mountain ranges there. There's a mineral deposit there. Originally, the production wasn't high, but because the people there kept digging, they seem to have discovered a new vein hidden deep underground. Father is currently investigating there with his men. A new mineral deposit? Su Fei should have a son of chaos by his side, right? Contact Su Fei and tell him to come here in 2 hours. I have something to ask him. Yes, Senior. We'll contact him right away. Su Ying respectfully acknowledged. Xing Hui nodded and his consciousness left the Chaos Temple. How is it? Have you figured out what the Heavenly Tao is up to? Firmament Master asked with a smile. It should have something to do with dust cleansing stones. There seems to be a new vein there. Dust cleansing stones? Firmament Master nodded. The Heavenly Tao has been constantly excavating on the Kongli continent in the past few years and has unearthed many dust cleansing stones. However, judging from the special force field that still exists on the Kongli continent, there should still be many dust cleansing stones on the continent. I'm guessing the Heavenly Tao wants to create more dust cleansing armor. The Heavenly Tao? Why are they creating dust cleansing armor? Are they trying to travel through the void to other worlds? How is that possible? Even traversing realm experts wouldn't dare to say that they could rely on their own strength to fly across 2 worlds. However, if they were careless and fell into the void, the result of a battle between those with and without the dust-leaving armor would be completely different. You should understand that if a Saint Realm expert was trapped in a spatial crack for 2 to 3 years without being able to find a way out, they could die from exhaustion, let alone those void spaces far away from the world. The firmament master knew that Qing Su had only cultivated for a short period of time, so he did not understand these basics. He immediately waved his hand and said, "You can think of the world as a continent. The further away you are from the continent, the larger the waves, and the further you are from the world, the stronger the spatial storms. Under normal circumstances, void-shattering experts possess the ability to break through the barrier of the world and travel through the void. However, once they are too far away from the world and encounter powerful spatial storms, only death awaits them in the end. At that time, the armor of immortality will become extremely important." When Xinghui heard this, he nodded slightly. In fact, what the divine wilderness did back then was equivalent to betraying our divine wilderness world. Even if they find all kinds of excuses to cover up their mistakes, they still can't change the harm they brought to our divine wilderness. However, the reason they were able to attract so many powerful experts and even Saint Realm experts to join them is because they have a dust-cleansing flying ship, which is the existence of the two-realm boat. The firmament master sighed. With the two-realm boat, the divine wilderness has the ability to travel between two worlds. As long as they can go to other worlds and obtain the rich resources in those worlds, many saints who join the divine wilderness will be able to break through and step into the insightful emptiness realm. They might even have a chance to cultivate the divine true body in the future. The temptation of the divine true body was too great. It was almost equivalent to the temptation of the golden elixir realm for cultivators below the golden elixir realm. Before reaching the golden elixir realm, cultivators could only live for a few hundred years at most. Once they reached the golden elixir realm, they could easily live for 1,000 years. Because of this, there was a strange phenomenon in the cultivation world where there were more golden elixir realm cultivators than endless realm cultivators. The divine true body realm was similar to the golden elixir realm. Once cultivated, one would have a lifespan of at least 10,000 years. Those with a long lifespan could even live for hundreds of thousands of years. Because of this, even if many people knew that the divine wilderness was a traitor of the divine wilderness world, they still turned a blind eye to it and chose to join the divine wilderness. This allowed the divine wilderness to grow stronger and become a powerhouse that stood above other forces. A dust-cleansing flying ship can't carry too many people, right? Indeed, it can't carry too many people, but it can still carry a few dozen people. Moreover, the dust-cleansing flying ship is much faster than other warships. According to the information they obtained from the divine wilderness, the closest world to us can be reached in 600 years with the dust-cleansing flying ship. Although that world isn't as powerful as the world behind the heavenly Tao and the eternal realm, it's enough for the people in the divine wilderness to temporarily recuperate, cultivate their domain to perfection, and then break through to the shattering void realm. Venerable Master Firmament said and shook his head. "Xinghui, go to the Kongli continent and take a look. If there are any peerless grade dust-cleansing stones, remember to leave them behind. Although we don't even have 1,000 cubes of peerless grade dust-cleansing flying ship, we have to accumulate them slowly. Otherwise, as time passes, the cultivation environment in the divine wilderness will become worse and worse, and it will be difficult for us to leave in the future." "I understand. My representative in the Kongli continent is on his way." "Okay, if you need any help, just let me know," Venerable Master Firmament said. Xinghui nodded. He didn't stay long in Venerable Master Firmament's courtyard. He had left the cultivation room to ask Hidden Sword Venerable about the cultivation method of the law phenomenon, so he naturally had to hurry over. "Xinghui, I heard that you're cultivating in seclusion. Have you made some progress?" Hidden Sword Venerable was holding his natal divine sword and quietly comprehending something in the courtyard. When he saw Xinghui, he smiled and asked. Seeing that Hidden Sword Venerable seemed to be in a good mood, Xinghui smiled and asked, "Venerable Sword Venerable, did the Black Flame sect send Master Qixin here?" "Yes, it's here. Furthermore, I've taken my revenge." Hidden Sword Venerable nodded and said to Xinghui with gratitude, "Xinghui, thank you for this. Otherwise, with the protection of the 3 Saint Realm Giants of the Black Flame sect, it would be impossible for me to kill Master Qixin, who was hiding in the Black Flame sect." "You don't have to be so polite, Venerable Sword Venerable. In fact, You should have told me about this earlier. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been in danger. Hidden Sword Venerable smiled bitterly and said, at that time, although you had cultivated the ultimate sword principle and had amazing battle strength, you were nothing compared to the Black Flame sect. I just didn't want you to put yourself in danger because of me. Plus, I'm old and can't live for more than a few decades. It's better to take a risk while I still have strength. As long as I can kill Master Qixin, even if I'm killed by the Black Flame sect, I can die without regrets. After all, I've asked you to take care of the Hidden Sword sect. Even if I die, the Hidden Sword sect won't be destroyed because of you. It's better for you to take care of the Hidden Sword sect. Xing Hui said with a smile. Hidden Sword Venerable nodded and said, have you settled the matter here? If so, I want you to go back to the Hidden Sword sect with me. I have something to tell you. Go back to the Hidden Sword sect. Xing Hui thought for a while and said, it shouldn't be a big deal. Plus, it won't take long to go back. We can just use the transmission skill. You'll have to stay in the Hidden Sword sect for a while. Therefore, it's better for you to go back after you've settled the matter here. Do you want me to teach the disciples in the Hidden Sword sect? Qing Su smiled. I'm still a dabbler myself, so I've come to ask you, Sword Sovereign, how do cultivators of the Way of the Sword cultivate the law phenomenon of heaven and earth? Law phenomenon realm? Hidden Sword Venerable paused for a moment and quickly understood what Xing Hui wanted to ask. He smiled bitterly and said, don't ask me. In fact, I don't know how to solve the law phenomenon realm either. I first broke through to the law phenomenon realm and then switched to the ultimate sword principle. It's similar to the ultimate sword principle that you cultivated when you were in the golden elixir realm. I really don't know how to help you enter the law phenomenon realm. Xing Hui heard this and felt a little helpless. In fact, you've already walked ahead of me. The next step of the ultimate sword principle that I've deduced is the sword force. You've already cultivated the sword force, and its power is very obvious. I'm quite pleased about this. As for how you're going to walk on the next path, it's entirely up to you. Even if it's me, I'm afraid I have to follow the path you've opened up. Xing Hui put away his helpless thoughts and nodded slightly. Don't worry, Sword Venerable. I'll think of a way. In fact, I'm wondering if I should skip the law phenomenon realm and directly cultivate the sword territory. Cultivate the sword territory? Without the laws of heaven and earth, how useful can it be even if you cultivate the territory? Xing Hui frowned. Do I have to skip the realm of the realm and the void transformation realm? Shatter the vacuum? However, if other ultimate sword principle cultivators reach my level, they won't be able to shatter the vacuum. By then, won't they be stuck at the sword force level forever? Hidden Sword Venerable heard Xing Hui's words and fell silent. 2 hours passed quickly while he was thinking. Seeing how the two of them were unable to figure out the next cultivation method, all Qing Su could do was say, then let's work on the sword force, the mind, and so on. With a solid foundation, our battle prowess will obviously increase. Since I can't think of a suitable direction, this is the only way. Hidden Sword Venerable sighed. Xing Hui did not insist. Seeing that it was time, he split a part of his spiritual force into the Chaos Shrine's personal space. In the personal space that belonged to the Kongli continent, Su Fei and Su Ying were already waiting there. When they saw Xing Hui, they bowed again. Su Fei, I heard that you found a new mineral deposit in the Separation Mountain Range? How's the reserve? Senior, this is what I wanted to report to you. The reserve of the dust cleansing stone mineral deposit is amazing. According to estimates, there are 200,000 low-grade dust cleansing stones, 30,000 high-grade dust cleansing stones, and 4,000 high-grade dust cleansing stones. Su Fei said happily. When Xing Hui heard this number, he was suddenly enlightened. 200,000 low-grade dust cleansing stones, 30,000 high-grade dust cleansing stones, and 4,000 high-grade dust cleansing stones? Are you telling the truth? It's absolutely true, Su Fei said confidently. At the same time, he said with a hint of praise in his tone, currently, we've already mined 1/3 of the mineral deposit. When the mineral deposit is completely mined, we'll directly contact you and contribute all the dust cleansing stones that we've mined to you. Chapter 652. Bieli Mountain Range. Su Fei, who was in his own courtyard, trembled slightly, his eyes unfocused, but a moment later his eyes flashed with a biting cold light. This light, compared to his body, was fiercer and more imposing. Even the blue underworld realm guard in front of him trembled under this gaze, involuntarily took a step back. It was a good while before the guard recovered his senses, looking at Su Fei in awe. "Palace Master, withdraw." Su Fei waved his hand. The guard commander respectfully retreated and closed the door. And as the guard left, the personal space opened, and a figure stepped out of the distorted space. It was Tsing Hui. When Tsing Hui came out of the personal space, Su Fei trembled again, a trace of confusion flashing across his eyes, but he quickly reacted, quickly bowing respectfully to Tsing Hui. "Greetings, Elder." "Good, where are the excavated dust stones?" "At present, there are 1,084 pieces of the best dust stones unearthed. Because Subordinate's personal space is limited, these dust stones have been stored in the mineral warehouse and have been personally guarded by elites." A piece of dust stone was in fact 1 cubic meter, and the personal space of a person was only 10 cubic meters, so naturally it could not contain that many dust stones. "Take me there," Tsing Hui said. "Elder, please." Su Fei hurriedly led the way. As the two went out, the guard outside couldn't help but be taken aback, and was about to come forward, when Su Fei hurriedly shouted at him, "Hey Tan, this is the most respected guest of our Heavenswell Palace. From now on you have to treat the orders of this elder as if they are my orders. Do you understand?" The guard named Hey Tan was taken aback. He had long guessed that the reason why Su Fei and his family were able to sit on the throne of the palace master of the Heavenswell Palace was because they had secretly received the support of a certain important person of Heaven Wasteland domain. Now seeing Tsing Hui's imposing manner, and the way Su Fei addressed him, he immediately understood something and hurriedly knelt down. "Subordinate Hey Tan, greets Elder. If Elder has any instructions in the future, please do so." Tsing Hui said calmly, and under the lead of Su Fei, went straight to the mineral warehouse. The mineral warehouse was personally guarded by several hundred elites. Among these several hundred people, even the weakest one had the cultivation of the true Qi realm. The leader had even reached the level of spirit and Qi as one. Compared to Su Fei, he was not inferior. However, due to Su Fei's excellent foundation from Qing Su and his high-class god artifact, his battle prowess could not be compared to regular Blue Netherworld realm experts. As a result, he was still able to suppress these Blue Netherworld realm guards and make them obey his orders. "Father, this is..." When Su Fei arrived at the mine warehouse, a woman immediately came up to greet him. It was one of Su Fei's daughter. Compared to when Tsing Hui left back then, Su Qiubai's cultivation base had made sufficient progress, and she had now reached the level of the divine Qi as one. Seeing Tsing Hui respectfully led by Su Fei, Su Qiubai was slightly taken aback. Then, as if thinking of something, she looked at Tsing Hui with a hint of awe and confusion. "Father, this is Senior Dong Yang," Su Fei said cautiously. Su Qiubai hurriedly bowed. But Tsing Hui waved his hand and went directly into the warehouse with Su Fei. In the warehouse, there were a large number of dust-repellent stones. Among these dust-repellent stones, the production of low-grade dust-repellent stones had reached more than 40,000 cubic meters, the production of high-grade dust-repellent stones was more than 10,000 cubic meters, and the production of top-grade dust-repellent stones was more than 1,000 cubic meters. With so many dust-repellent stones piled together, it was equivalent to thousands of Taoist items. Even though Tsing Hui had just received 1,500 Taoist rhymes not long ago, he still felt suffocated. Of course, due to the low-grade and high-grade dust-repellent stones not having much effect, if there were hundreds of thousands of low-grade dust-repellent stones and tens of thousands of high-grade dust-repellent stones in the market, it would definitely cause the price of dust-repellent stones to drop. Even so, the sky-high price behind the dust-repellent stones was enough for Tsing Hui to treat it seriously. Without hesitation, Tsing Hui quickly went forward and was about to put all the dust-repellent stones into his personal space. However, when he arrived in front of the dust-repellent stones, his expression changed abruptly. In a flash, he appeared next to a piece of top-grade dust-repellent stone. He picked it up and clenched it hard. Suddenly, the top-grade dust-repellent stone that was strong enough to be smelted into a dust-repellent flying boat crumbled like fine sand. This. Su Fei was stunned when he saw this. Su Qiubai couldn't help but widen his eyes. Xing Hui's expression turned cold as he quickly went forward. The first few pieces of top-grade dust-repellent stones were fake, but when he reached the interior, the piles of stones were simply illusions formed by the formation. As Xing Hui stepped in, they all vanished. The low-grade and high-grade dust-repellent stones were still there, but more than 1,000 pieces of top-grade dust-repellent stones had vanished without a trace. This. How could this be? How could this be? I personally watched these dust-repellent stones being sent into the warehouse. Su Fei was in disbelief when he saw this. In order to preserve his battle strength, the Thunder Punishment Taoist master didn't directly descend on the Kongli continent. Instead, he relied on a void envoy to descend on a nearby continent. According to the estimation of the distance, it should take another day or two before he truly sets foot on the Kongli continent. Since these people chose to steal the dust-repellent stones silently, it's clear that they don't have the power to resist the Heavens Will Palace forces that I left on this continent. In that case, the ones who stole the dust-repellent stones must be forces on the Kongli continent that have defected to the Heavens Will Palace. These forces can't be that strong. Send the order immediately to capture everyone who has come to this warehouse. Xing Hui immediately shouted. Su Fei quivered and quickly passed down the order. As the palace master of the Heavens Will Palace gave the order, the entire mine was alarmed. Countless guards quickly ran up and down the mountain to capture anyone suspicious. However, Xing Hui's expression was somewhat dignified when he sensed the chaos in the Bili mountain range. He wasn't someone from the Kongli continent. Although Su Fei and the others controlled the Heavens Will Palace, due to the short period of time, they didn't have complete control over the Kongli continent. No one knew how many spies from other forces were hidden in the Kongli continent. It was even possible that the miners who were excavating the dust-repellent stones were spies from other forces. I should have brought some people from the Heavens Vault of Heaven first. It wouldn't be like this where there's no one to use. Xing Hui felt that he had miscalculated. At the same time, he ordered again. Pass down the order. No one is allowed to leave the Bili mountain range. Those who rashly escape will be killed without mercy. Yes, Senior. Su Fei also understood that he had made a big mistake and quickly tried to make up for it. Qing Su's body did not move, but his soul left his body and rose into the air. He used the aura examination technique and looked around rapidly. Before long, 3 presences that were clearly at the green darkness realm and the spirit as one realm, but had been hidden to the true Qi realm and spirit refining realm through some special methods, appeared before him. When he locked onto the 3 auras, the owners of the 3 auras were quickly retreating out of the Bili mountain range. Don't you think it's too late to leave now? Xing Hui's primordial spirit returned to his body. Before Su Fei and the others could react, he had already whizzed past. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the group consisting of a Qingming realm and 2 Spirit Qi Unite realm cultivators. Seeing Xing Hui suddenly appear, the 3 of them reacted quickly. Among them, the Qingming realm middle-aged man roared, "I'll stop him. You protect Hunting Wolf and leave first." "Who can you leave with?" Xing Hui looked at the Qingming realm man in front of him and slightly released his sword force. Suddenly, a destructive aura came crashing down like Mount Tai. Before the 3 of them had the time to resist, they were already forced to kneel on the ground. The Qingming realm cultivator who tried to resist the sword force vomited blood, looking extremely miserable. The Qingming realm cultivator felt the terrifying aura from Xing Hui that far exceeded his imagination. He immediately widened his eyes. True element realm? No. The aura of a true element realm cultivator can't be this terrifying. Even the transformative realm and endless realm cultivators can't be this strong. Golden Dan. You're a Golden Dan realm cultivator? Xing Hui was too lazy to pay attention to the Qingming realm cultivator. His gaze landed on the Spirit Chi Unite Realm cultivator that the two of them were protecting. The dust-repelling stone is on you, right? It seems that the level of your personal space has increased quite a bit. Hand over the dust-repelling stone. Otherwise, I'll make you beg for death. The young hunting wolf's expression changed slightly. He naturally knew what kind of torture would happen if he was captured alive. Due to the existence of the Son of Chaos in this world, the research on torturing others had almost reached the pinnacle. Masters of torture and interrogation could be found everywhere, and any one of them could make others beg for death. In particular, some people had specially invented some torture drugs that could increase a person's pain by more than 10 times, tormenting the will of others. Other than those existences above the divine realm who were about to break away from the level of their physical bodies, few others could withstand the torture. But I have to be careful not to let you commit suicide. With a flick of Ching Su's hand, a strand of sword chi immediately shot into the young hunting wolf's body, sealing up all his meridians and acupoints. At that moment, the young man discovered to his shock that while he could maintain his consciousness, he could not even control his own body. You, Rumble! The hunting wolf was just about to say something in frustration, but at this moment, a tremendous presence swept over with a pressure that blotted out the sky. Before the person had even arrived, his voice had already swept over a small portion of the continent like a thunderclap. It rang out in the sky, "I am the lightning punishment Tao Lord. From today onwards, the entire continent belongs to me. Anyone who disobeys my orders will be killed without mercy." Chapter 653. The Thunder Punishment Taoist Master. It's the Thunder Punishment Taoist Master from the prosperous and powerful Heaven Wasteland domain. The Thunder Punishment Taoist Master is the person behind the Heavens Will Palace. Back then, the Palace Master of the Heavens Will Palace, Huang Fu Peng, was a descendant of the Thunder Punishment Taoist Master. It's said that the Thunder Punishment Taoist Master's power is at the top of the prosperous and dazzling Heaven Wasteland domain, where there are countless experts. Any one of them can easily destroy our entire Kong Li continent. The Thunder Punishment Taoist Master is here. It's over. The Su family is done for. No matter how strong the power behind them is or how great their background is, they can't bear the anger of the Thunder Punishment Taoist Master. When they heard the mighty voice that swept through half of the Kong Li continent like divine thunder from the ninth heaven, everyone on the Kong Li continent became anxious and even threatened the Su family's rule over the Heavens Will Palace. The people of the Heavens Will Palace who had been expelled by the Su family through Tsing Hui were wild with joy, and they welcomed the arrival of the Thunder Punishment Taoist Master with joy. The Thunder Punishment Taoist Master? Tsing Hui looked at Hunting Wolf and the other two, whose eyes were also wild with joy. With a shake of his hand, he knocked the three unconscious and kept them in his personal space. Then he rose into the air and flew quickly in the direction of the Thunder Punishment Taoist Master's voice. In less than 100 kilometers, he encountered a large warship that was riding the wind and breaking the waves in the clouds. The battleship was a battleship, but whether it was its size or speed, it was much larger than any battleship he had seen in Qingsu. In particular, the battleship actually gave off a special pulse when it flew, just like how Buddhist phenomena of nature and earth could borrow the power of the laws of the world. As a result, not only would such a huge battleship not feel any resistance when it flew through the clouds, but it could even use external forces for its own use, increasing the battleship's speed. Tsing Hui estimated that the warship's flying speed was not inferior to that of a Golden Core Realm expert flying at full speed with a 10th level flying sword. It was at least 5,000 kilometers per hour. This warship. As Tsing Hui studied the battleship, he suddenly sensed something. The next moment, 3 streaks of light whizzed out from the battleship at the same time. They tore through the sky and blasted towards Tsing Hui. Clang. Unable to continue observing, Tsing Hui unsheathed the scarlet abyss sword in his hand. 3 sword shadows directly collided with the 3 streaks of light from the large battleship. For a moment, a violent shockwave spread out from the scarlet abyss sword, accompanied by a shockwave that swept out recklessly, tearing apart the clouds in a radius of several kilometers. Under this shockwave, the careless Tsing Hui was actually sent flying, and it took him a while to stabilize himself. This kind of power isn't inferior to the divine ability of an almighty. Sing Hui's expression changed. The divine ability of an almighty could often cause devastating damage within dozens of kilometers. If it was an area of effect divine ability attack, it was enough to turn a radius of hundreds of kilometers into a purgatory of death. This kind of means was already equivalent to a star-destroying existence. Sing Hui had seen the star-annihilating cannons of the Xia Empire's planet-level battleship. Its power was similar to the divine ability of an almighty. After all, if an almighty condensed the divine ability attack into one, blasting it underground for dozens of kilometers would not be a problem. At that time, the divine ability would detonate, and it would immediately cause a planet with a diameter of thousands of kilometers to lose balance, causing the planet to collapse. The warship in front of him could blast out 3 streaks of light that were comparable to the star-annihilating cannons in one breath. Its alchemy level was very high, and it was probably an outstanding existence in the Xia Empire. It seems that Tian Dao's wealth is extraordinary. Again? Do you really think this kind of attack can do anything to me? Sing Hui blocked the 3 streaks of light, and just as he stabilized his body, the warship in front of him once again lit up with a bright radiance. However, Sing Hui, who had stayed in the Xia Empire for 3 days, understood that attacks similar to warships and star-annihilating cannons had a fatal flaw, which was that they were not flexible enough and could only attack in a straight line. For Sing Hui, who could easily increase his speed to dozens of kilometers per second, dodging this kind of attack was a piece of cake. Xiao! Sing Hui's figure flickered, and he directly dodged these streaks of light. At the same time, he took a step forward and instantly closed the distance between him and the warship by dozens of kilometers. At the same time, the deep red sword in his hand burst out with a dazzling light and a bright and blazing sword energy, like a giant laser cannon on a stellar-level warship, shot down with a loud bang, carrying the power to burn the sky and boil the sea, and heavily slashed the large warship. However, just as this sword was about to hit the large warship and completely turn it into void dust, a streak of light flashed on the warship, and a layer of transparent array appeared. Under the guidance of the array, the sword energy was directly diverted to one side, just like the refraction of light by a mirror, easily making Sing Hui's sword energy disappear. It only had time to tear a huge crack in the ground more than 10 kilometers below, causing bursts of rumbling sounds. Although the power of my sword energy isn't that great, it's still comparable to a mighty figure's attack. This warship's defensive array actually withstood it. However, if it can withstand a casual strike of mine, can it withstand my sort of sunburst? Sing Hui snorted coldly and was about to unsheath the deep red sword again. It seems that you're the person who dared to plot against my heavenly Dao's assets on the Kongli continent. A divine tier cultivator dares to make an enemy of my heavenly Dao. How bold of you! At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded from the warship. Immediately afterward, a tall man with a bald head, face, and body covered in mysterious runes slowly rose from the large warship. This tall man's gaze seemed to have a mysterious power that could see through people's hearts. When he looked at Sing Hui actually felt like he had nowhere to hide, as if all of his secrets would be exposed with a single glance. The Thunder Punishment Dao Lord? Sing Hui frowned. This feeling of being seen through made him feel a little uncomfortable. However, after a moment, he seemed to have thought of something. It seemed like the Thunder Punishment Dao Lord was a mighty figure in the heavenly Dao who had raised his appraisal technique to the peak of level 10. That feeling of being spied on, level 10 appraisal technique? At this moment, the Thunder Punishment Dao Lord seemed to have realized something. His expression changed slightly. Although you're only at the divine tier, your chaos level is so high. You're at least a level 35 Son of Chaos. Since when did such a person exist in Tianhuang region? Little thief, tell me your name. Otherwise, you won't have this chance. Stop pretending to be mysterious. Sing Hui couldn't be bothered to waste any more words with the Thunder Punishment Dao Lord. He suddenly charged forward. Without needing to use any divine abilities, the deep red sword already emitted a dazzling light. The mighty and blazing sword of Sunburst was like a falling sun, carrying with it a vast and mighty force that could destroy stars. This is your true divine ability. The Thunder Punishment Daelord's expression changed when he sensed the terrifying power of Tsing Hui's Sword of Sunburst. However, he quickly calmed down. The next moment, he was already facing the trajectory of Tsing Hui's sword light. As he roared, a visible sound wave spread out from him. In an instant, it covered a radius of tens of kilometers. The sound wave collided violently with the surrounding air and space, exploding into dazzling lightning bolts. As he clenched his left hand, all the lightning bolts within a radius of tens of kilometers were caught in his hand. Then, he merged them with the long spear in his right hand. Suddenly, the lightning on the long spear shone to an unprecedented degree. Then he aimed at Tsing Hui and threw the spear. Rumble! The lightning bolt pierced through the air, bringing with it a soul-shaking sound of thunder. It caused Tsing Hui's mind to tremble. With the combination of the two, if his opponent was a lawful embodiment of heaven and earth like him or an ordinary almighty, just this attack alone would be enough to severely injure the other party. Unfortunately, this time, he was facing Tsing Hui. His mind power was so powerful that it had reached level 142. The most destructive sound of thunder only caused a slight ripple in his mind. As for the lightning bolt that was about to strike Tsing Hui easily dodged it the moment the Thunder Punishment Daelord threw it. After Tsing Hui dodged the attack of the Thunder Punishment Spear, the sword light of the Sword of Sunburst landed on the Thunder Punishment Daelord's body. The surging waves of energy instantly exploded. Then, they were blocked by a protective item on the Thunder Punishment Daelord's body. It's useless. The Thunder Punishment Daelord had a cruel and cold expression on his face. This 4 divisions pearl that I have is a defensive treasure that was excavated from an ancient cave abode. Its level is at level 14, and it has a powerful defensive effect against earth, water, fire, and wind elemental attacks. I once did an experiment and relied on this 4 divisions pearl to block a total of 23 divine abilities from an almighty from the heavenly Tao. No matter how strong your divine ability is, or even if it has been perfected by you to the standard of a great divine ability, it's impossible for it to exceed the total of 23 divine abilities. As he spoke, he clenched his fist and an invisible lightning spear formed in his hand once again. On the other hand, I can rely on the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth to continuously absorb the void divine lightning from the void. Together with this level 13 Thunder God Spear, I can continuously strike out the God-destroying thunder punishment at an extremely fast speed. With the support of the Thunder God Spear, the God-destroying thunder's attack power is not only shocking, but it can also shake the soul of others. Even if you are an lawful embodiment of heaven and earth expert, your soul will still be shaken after being struck by my God-destroying thunder more than 10 times, let alone a mighty figure like you. This is the reason why I, the Thunder Punishment Daelord, am one of the top 36 Daelords of the Heavenly Tao. Are you done? Tsing Hui looked at the Thunder Punishment Daelord, who had once again formed a lightning spear. Since you're so powerful, you can just tell your family about it. There's no need to say anything more to me. Now, take this sword intent of mine. At the next moment, a vast and majestic sword intent exploded from Tsing Hui's body. It was like a scorching sun that hung in the sky and illuminated the world, shining brilliantly. Before this sword intent that was infused with the God-piercing secret spiritual technique, the 4 divisions pearl, which could only defend against earth, water, fire, and wind attacks, was completely useless. It was directly ignored and penetrated by the sword intent that exploded from Tsing Hui. Then, it was reflected in the Thunder Punishment Daelord's spiritual world. Instantly, the spiritual world of the Thunder Punishment Daelord, who had always been proficient in using the God-destroying thunder to shake the soul of others, turned into a sea of flames. Chapter 654. While the Ultimate Sword Dao had stripped Tsing Hui of his defensive abilities, it had also bestowed Tsing Hui with unparalleled offensive capabilities. However, it was clear that there was no need for Fang Xingjian to deliberately use his divine ability, Light Pursuit, and slash out streams of Sunlight Sword to deal with the Thunder Punishment Daelord. Fang Xingjian's divine ability, which had reached level 142, combined with the Thorn Mystic Art, set the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord's mental world ablaze. Brilliant and blazing sword light incinerated the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord's mental world, causing the heavenly phenomenon realm expert, who had just displayed the prowess of his divine weapon, to cry out in agony. His body, which had soared into the air, plummeted toward the heavenly Tao's flying artifact at an extremely fast speed. Seeing the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord fall, the many true energy realm, Transcendent Realm, Endless Realm, and Golden Core Realm cultivators who were maintaining the operation of the warship cried out in alarm. What's going on? Why did the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord suddenly? A sneak attack! A sneak attack! The Thunder Punishment Tao Lord has fallen into a sneak attack. Everyone, hurry up and help the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord. Activate the Star Destroyer's Star Destroyer main cannon and kill the enemy. After a series of panicked shouts, a total of 12 spots on the warship began to glow with dazzling light. Among them, the main cannon at the very front was overflowing with flowing light. The energy waves it emitted were so strong that they were not inferior to the Scarlet Sun Demon God's attack. This warship is not bad. It's a pity. Sing Hui's gaze swept across the warship. Then, he pressed down with his hand, and his sword aura descended. Immediately, all the crew members operating the warship, from the Golden Core Realm Vice Captain and helmsman to the ordinary gunners and employees, felt an irresistible, blazing sun blast into their spiritual world. Endless light carried with it a resplendent light that could burn the heavens and boil the seas, illuminating their spiritual world brilliantly. After the brilliance, there was a blank space. It was like the blankness of a mortal looking directly at a nuclear explosion. In the eyes of outsiders, everyone on the warship had instantly lost all signs of life. Their divine souls were like candles in the wind, extinguished with a blow. The warship, which had been emitting powerful energy waves and filled with deadly aura, quickly sank with the deaths of all the people on board. The energy waves of the flowing light dimmed, and even the hull of the warship could no longer maintain stability in the void. The front of the warship lowered slightly, and then tilted and fell to the ground. But sword force, this is sword force. Furthermore, to possess such sword intent, you are definitely not as simple as an ordinary almighty. For you. At this moment, the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord forcefully pulled himself together and shouted at Sing Hui as he looked at the falling battleship. However, Sing Hui ignored the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord. When he destroyed the Heavenly Tao and was almost killed by Taoist Master He Tian, the enmity between him and the Heavenly Tao had already been formed. Coupled with the battle between the Heavenly Tao and the Celestial Vault, and his position as a member of the Celestial Vault, there was no possibility of compromise between him and the Heavenly Tao. Thus, no matter what, it was impossible for the Lightning Punishment Tao Lord to leave alive after falling into his hands. It was just a matter of how much value he could squeeze out of him before he died. Swoosh! Sing Hui clenched his fist, and circles of space rippled from the bottom of the Star Destroyer warship. This was the opening of his personal space. The huge body of the Star Destroyer that was slowly falling was instantly swallowed by the flickering space ripples. Ching Su had no intention of letting go of a warship that possessed such great firepower and was not exactly slow either. At least with this warship in hand, it would be easy for the cultivators in the Eastern Wilderness to travel between the Heaven Wasteland world and the Eastern Wilderness world. With a speed of 5,000 kilometers per hour, they would be able to travel between the Eastern Wilderness and the Heaven Wasteland world in 2 months. Furthermore, the warship's secondary cannons and main cannons were so powerful that they would not be inferior to a powerful figure's attack. After all, although the sea region between the Eastern Wilderness and the Heaven Wasteland world was dangerous and there were many overlords of the sea region, most of these overlord-level ferocious beasts and even divine beasts were limited to level 7 to level 10. There were very few level 11 and level 12 beasts. Even if they really encountered them, the warship would be able to hold on for a period of time and ask Tsing Hui for help in time. Then, Tsing Hui would be able to rush over and kill the spirit beasts and divine beasts. Who exactly are you? I am the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord of the Heavenly Tao. If you dare to harm me, you will have to be prepared to suffer the wrath of the Heavenly Tao, the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord seemed to have vaguely guessed that he would be in a difficult situation. As he forced himself to stay awake, he tried to think of a way to communicate with the Chaos Divine Palace. However, his spiritual world had been severely damaged by Tsing Hui's sword intent. At this moment, he could not concentrate on communicating with the Chaos Divine Palace. He was only able to stay awake because of his strong willpower. Furthermore, he had to divert his attention to prevent Tsing Hui from discovering his true intentions. After trying for a while, he was unable to enter the Chaos Divine Palace. Tsing Hui's gaze landed on the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord. A bright light flashed in his eyes, and two beams of sword intent shot out from his eyes and shot into the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord's spiritual world. Immediately, the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord, whose spiritual world had been shattered by Tsing Hui's sword intent, let out a miserable cry. Blood flowed out of his 7 orifices and he fainted on the spot. Tsing Hui waved his hand and brought the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord into his personal space. Swish! With a turn of his body, Tsing Hui took a step forward, and the Sky Splitter appeared under his feet. Without needing to use any divine ability, Tsing Hui could easily break through the sound barrier by flying at full speed on his sword. As waves of umbrella-shaped clouds exploded behind him, the Bieli mountain range appeared in his field of vision once again. Rumble! A terrifying wind pressure mixed with a deafening roar exploded above the Bieli mountain range. Su Fei, Su Qiubai, and the many guards in the Bieli mountain range became anxious after hearing the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord's shout. Tsing Hui's figure appeared in the storm. Senior Dong Yang, it's Senior Dong Yang. Senior Dong Yang is here. Upon seeing Tsing Hui, Su Fei and Su Qiubai heaved a sigh of relief. Su Qiubai could not wait to ask Tsing Hui, who was in the void, Senior Dong Yang, did you hear the voice that almost spread across half of the Kongli continent? Tsing Hui did not answer. Instead, he turned to Su Fei and asked, do you have anyone who's good at interrogation? Su Fei was worried about the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord. When he heard Tsing Hui's question, he was slightly startled. Then he quickly said, yes. There's a master torturer in the Bieli mountain range. There are also 2 in the Heavens Will Palace. Transfer the 2 from the Heavens Will Palace over. As for this one, we'll talk about it later. After saying that, Tsing Hui descended. He completely ignored everyone's attitude and directly threw Hunting Wolf and the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord out of his space. By now, the Hunting Wolf had already woken up. After seeing Qing Su, not only did he show no fear, his eyes became vicious instead. The dust-cleansing rock is on me. You definitely won't dare to kill me, and our great lord, the Lightning Punishment Tao Lord, has already arrived. Once the Lightning Punishment Tao Lord arrives, it'll be the day all of you die. All I need to do is endure your torture, and once the Lightning Punishment Tao Lord arrives, I'll repay you 10-fold, 100-fold, of all the pain you've inflicted on me. Following Hunting Wolf's words, the guards who served Su Fei and Su Qiubai all revealed expressions of fear. Back when the Heavens Will Palace had conquered the Kongli continent, the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord had led many experts to guard the Kongli continent. Only after they had dug up most of the dust-leaving stone did they leave one by one. Due to the short period of time, the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord's tyrannical power, and the fact that Su Fei had only been in control of the Heavens Will Palace for a few years, the Heavens Will Palace's influence had not completely dissipated. When they heard Hunting Wolf's words, the guards immediately became restless. Some of them even looked at Su Fei and Su Qiubai with eager gazes. It was as if they wanted to capture the 2 of them alive and hand them over to the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord who was about to arrive so that they could atone for their crimes and even fight for a future. The Thunder Punishment Tao Lord? Tsing Hui glanced at the unconscious Thunder Punishment Tao Lord lying beside Hunting Wolf and said indifferently, are you still dreaming that the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord can save you? Take a good look at the person beside you. Hunting Wolf glanced at the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord beside him and frowned. What are you trying to do? Are you using others to threaten me? I'm telling you, that's impossible. According to the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord's voice, he'll arrive here in half an hour if he's fast. I advise you to let me go obediently and return the Kongli continent to the great Thunder Punishment Downlord. When the time comes, I might be able to put in a good word for you in front of the Thunder Punishment Downlord. Otherwise, Sing Hui glanced at Hunting Wolf and shook his head after a moment. He was overthinking. What right did a mere spirit-uniting realm cultivator have to meet the Thunder Punishment Downlord? Senior, do you think we should avoid him for a while? That's the Thunder Punishment Downlord. Su Qiubai asked in a soft voice. Avoid him? Sing Hui sneered. His gaze landed on a man with a cold aura who was brought in by a guard. Sir, Poison Scorpion is here. The guard reported to Su Fei with a worried expression. Come here and interrogate him. See if there are any other experts in hiding besides the Thunder Punishment Downlord. After Tsing Hui finished speaking, he flicked his finger and a sword intent shot into the Thunder Punishment Downlord's mind. Immediately, the unconscious Thunder Punishment Downlord screamed and woke up from the pain. Poison Scorpion was only a master of interrogation and did not have a high status. Naturally, Su Fei did not dare to slight Tsing Hui. Who are you? Who are you? The Thunder Punishment Downlord roared in pain after waking up. When they heard the Thunder Punishment Downlord's voice, which was obviously the same as the voice that had spread across half of the Kongli continent, Su Fei, Su Qiubai, the guards, and Hunting Wolf, who was waiting for the Thunder Punishment Downlord to save him, were all stunned. This voice, Su Qiubai, who reacted quickly, immediately thought of what Tsing Hui had said. See if there were any other experts in hiding besides the Thunder Punishment Downlord. When she thought of this, she could not help but scream in disbelief, Thunder Punishment Downlord! Thunder Punishment Downlord! This person is the Thunder Punishment Downlord? Chapter 655. The Lightning Punishment Downlord? At this moment, Su Fei also quivered. His gaze suddenly landed on the Thunder Punishment Downlord. After staring at him for a moment, his eyes suddenly widened. The Heavenswell Palace has an image left behind by the Thunder Punishment Downlord. There are even some clear portraits circulating. It's him. He's the Lightning Punishment Downlord. How long has it been since the Lightning Punishment Downlord was captured alive? The Lightning Punishment Downlord was one of the most influential Downlords on the Kongli continent, and his portraits were widely circulated. Many of the guards had thought that the Lightning Punishment Downlord looked familiar, but they hadn't dared to associate him with the mighty existence who had suppressed the entire Kongli continent. Now that Su Fei had reminded them, they immediately recognized the man before them. Who else could he be but the Lightning Punishment Downlord? At that moment, all the panicking guards looked at Qing Su. When they thought about how the Lightning Punishment Downlord who had been making a fuss earlier had actually been reduced to a prisoner by this senior Dongyang, they could not help but gasp. Downlord? Hunting Wolf, who'd placed all his hopes on the Lightning Punishment Downlord and thought that Dongyang might be able to save him, crumbled instantly. I'll leave it to you, Sing Hui said to Poison Scorpion before heading to the nearby courtyard. Qiubai, you'll supervise him personally. Su Fei instructed Su Qiubai before following Tsing Hui to the courtyard. At this moment, the people of the Su family no longer had any doubts towards Qing Su. They were all overjoyed. Even an invincible existence like the Lightning Punishment Downlord had been swiftly captured by Senior Dongyang. What else did they have to fear? My lord, Hunting Wolf has taken out all the supreme-grade dust-cleansing stones. Sing Hui waited for less than 10 minutes before Su Qiubai came to report. Good. Bring him here. Sing Hui ordered. Before long, Hunting Wolf was escorted by 2 guards to Tsing Hui. Hunting Wolf's body was covered in wounds, and his eyes were filled with fear. When he saw Tsing Hui, he immediately begged for mercy and handed over all the supreme-grade dust-cleansing stones. Very good. Qing Su counted. There were exactly the same number of supreme-grade dust-cleansing stones. It was exactly the 1,084 cubic meters that had gone missing. After storing all the peerless-grade dust-leaving stones into his personal storage space, Sing Hui waved his hand and let Su Qiubai deal with the Hunting Wolf. What about the Thunder Punishment Downlord? Has he given us any instructions? He still doesn't want to talk, but he said that he wants to see you. You want to see me? Qing Su did not need to think too much to guess what the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord wanted to say to him. He immediately said, if he really wants to guard this secret to the death, then let him guard it. I'd like to see just how resolute the wills of the people of the Heavenly Tao are. After he finished speaking, he sent a portion of his consciousness into the Primal Chaos Shrine. Then he arrived in the Sky Dome realm and found Venerable Firmament. Xing Hui? How are things going in the Kongli continent? It went quite well. The Thunder Punishment Tao Lord is the only chess piece that the Heavenly Tao has set out. I've already captured him. You captured the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord alive? Venerable Firmament suddenly stood up. We've been fighting with the Heavenly Tao and the Heavenly Tao both openly and covertly. Apart from killing 2 almighties in the God's punishment realm, we haven't really caused any substantial damage to the Heavenly Tao or the forces that the Heavenly Tao has roped in. Now, a Tao Lord has fallen into your hands? That's right. I want to know the Heavenly Tao's true attitude. Attitude. Venerable Firmament immediately weighed the pros and cons of this matter. After a while, his gaze became resolute. The Heavenly Tao is destined to not let the Heavenly Tao off. Therefore, there will be a life and death battle between us. I understand. I have an idea. Speak. The most terrifying thing about the Heavenly Tao is their array formation. If the Heavenly Tao continues to hide in their base, I'm afraid that we won't be able to completely destroy them even if Venerable Zhuzhao breaks through to the vacuum-shattering realm. Therefore, we might as well surround them and attack them. Venerable Firmament immediately understood. You want to use the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord as a bait to lure the Heavenly Tao to send experts to save him? That's right. Xing Hui nodded. Since there will be a life and death battle between us and the Heavenly Tao sooner or later, why don't we take action earlier? First, we'll do our best to lure enough experts to kill them and weaken them. This way, when we truly fight the Heavenly Tao, our chances of victory will be higher. Venerable Firmament looked at Xing Hui with a trace of inquiry in his eyes. But if we do that, I'm afraid that you'll be in a dangerous situation. Xing Hui smiled, but his expression was rather relaxed. Venerable Firmament should know my strength. As long as the Heavenly Tao doesn't turn out in full force, I won't be afraid of them. Venerable Firmament pondered for a moment and finally nodded. All right, I'll discuss this with Shadow Sword and the Rainbow Sword sect. We'll mobilize the spies we've hidden in the Heavenly Tao and form a huge intelligence network. Once the Heavenly Tao or the Divine Path sect under their control shows signs of turning out in full force, or if the Chaos Tao Master makes any move, we'll inform you immediately. At the same time, I'll form an alliance with Shadow Sword and the Rainbow Sword sect and prepare at least 3 Divine Saints. We'll also contact the Void Walker of Shadow Sword. If you encounter any danger, we'll immediately ask the Void Walker to bring us to the Kongli continent to support you. That's great. Xing Hui nodded. After discussing this matter with Venerable Firmament, Xing Hui's consciousness returned to his body. At the same time, he said to Su Fei, "Bring the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord here." "Yes, Senior." Su Fei responded. Soon, the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord was brought to Xing Hui after some torture. When he saw Xing Hui again, the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord's eyes seemed to spit fire. He glared at Xing Hui and said, "Believe me, you'll die. You'll definitely die. Is this what you wanted to say to me?" Xing Hui looked at the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord. "Or do you think that the interrogation method just now was nothing to you? I'll endure it. When the time comes, I'll personally see you walk into hell." "Is that so? I'll wait for that day to come," Xing Hui said indifferently. Then he turned to Su Fei and said, "Spread the news that I've captured the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord, one of the 36 Tao Lords of the Heavenly Tao. At least, let the Heavenly Tao's spies on the Kongli continent know." Spread the news? Su Fei was slightly taken aback. A Tao Lord of the Heavenly Tao had fallen into their hands. Logically speaking, shouldn't they try to hide the news as much as possible before the people of the Heavenly Tao could react? Then, they would destroy the Kongli continent and take away all the dust-cleansing stones. Why was it that the senior wanted to deliberately let the people of the Heavenly Tao know? "Just do as I say." However, when you spread the news, you must use some tricks. You must make others think that I wanted to use the matter of capturing the lightning punishment Tao Lord to intimidate the surrounding juniors. That's why I deliberately spread the news. However, the reason why I was able to capture the lightning punishment Tao Lord alive was because I took advantage of the lightning punishment Tao Lord's carelessness to launch a sneak attack. In truth, I am merely an ordinary almighty existence. Senior, are you trying to put on a brave front? That's right. Sing Hui nodded approvingly. As for the sneering thunder punishment Tao Lord, he seemed to think of something as his expression changed. What are you trying to do? Sing Hui swept a glance at the thunder punishment Tao Lord. Don't you think that your heavenly Tao has many experts and will definitely send someone to save you? In that case, I'll do as you wish. Although I've captured saints before, I've never killed anyone. I hope that the saints sent by the heavenly Tao to save you won't be too weak. Captured saints? When the thunder punishment Tao Lord thought of the tragic situation where he had been severely injured by the other party's sword intent, he immediately believed most of what Sing Hui said. Instantly, he could not help but growl. What is your identity? What is your goal? My heavenly Tao is one of the strongest factions in the divine wilderness. We have countless experts. Ignoring the direct divine realm experts, there are many divine realm experts who secretly work for our heavenly Tao. There are more than 10 of them, yet you dare to provoke our heavenly Tao? Who gave you the guts? Divine wilderness? Or eternity? 10 saints? Sing Hui knew that the thunder punishment Tao Lord was not joking. There were more than 10 saints from the divine Tao sect and the heavenly Tao, not to mention the saints who secretly sided with the heavenly Tao. However, there was no fear on his face. It's fine. One by one. I'm not in a hurry. I reckon that once news of me spreads, your heavenly Tao will first send Tao Lords. After this wave of Tao Lords is killed by me, they will realize the seriousness of the problem and send saints. However, after I kill the saints of your heavenly Tao, I will have dug up most of the dust cleansing stones here. At that time, whether you leave or stay, or whether you live or die, will all depend on my mood. Anisrava Tao's sovereign will not fall for your trick. He will definitely calculate your true goal. When the time comes, he will send a large number of experts to swarm you and kill you here. Then let's see if he can react in time. Sing Hui waved his hand. Immediately, Su Fei sent people to bring the thunder punishment Tao Lord away. Force him to hand over the chaos mantra as well as the divine weapons on him as soon as possible. Sing Hui said. Yes, Senior. Su Fei respectfully responded, looking at Sing Hui with eyes full of awe. What kind of terrifying monster was the heavenly Tao? Back then, the heavenly Tao was the dominant force on the Kongli continent. Even the divine wilderness and eternity that came to compete with them for the right to rule the Kongli continent were defeated by them. As a result, they eventually occupied the resources of the Kongli continent for hundreds of years and dug up almost all the resources on the Kongli continent. And now, Senior Dong Yang, whom he served, seemed to treat the heavenly Tao as nothing and even said that he would kill the heavenly Tao sovereign. Just thinking about it made one's blood boil. What did the Su family have to fear if they could follow such a supreme expert who did not even care about saints? When the time comes, as long as this senior gave them a little guidance, the entire Su family would definitely soar. Even if they were to leave the Kongli continent and step onto the wider stage of Heaven Wasteland, it would not be an extravagant hope. Chapter 656. Golden Conch Island. It was an island less than 1.8 million kilometers away from the Kongli continent. Strictly speaking, that distance was still within the range of the Kongli continent's dust-repellent stone. However, since it was still almost 2 million kilometers away, the dust-repellent stone's influence over the area was greatly reduced, to the point that even if a mighty being's clone descended here, it would not affect them much. At this moment, in a palace on Golden Conch Island, an almighty with a slightly pale face descended. Around the palace, the 3 green netherworld realm experts who controlled the life and death of millions of people on Golden Conch Island all knelt on the ground and looked respectfully at the pale-faced man. Their eyes were filled with awe. All right, you may leave. Yes, high gods. The three of us will be outside and will be at your disposal at any time. The three green netherworld realm cultivators answered respectfully. They did not even dare to look at the Almighty and quickly left. As the three green hell realm cultivators left, the Almighty figure with a pale face waved his hand. In the next moment, a space door that was clearly opened by himself appeared. As the space door opened, a figure carrying a huge sword that was as tall as a person strode out with large strides. Behind him, there were 4 people following closely behind. Apart from the 4 of them, there were hundreds and thousands of cultivators ranging from the true energy realm to the golden core realm that were continuously walking out of the space door. Seeing the middle-aged man leading the group, even though the man who opened his personal space was an almighty, he immediately lowered his head to show his respect. Greetings, Sky Splitter Supreme God. Sky Splitter Supreme God was one of the 9 supreme gods in the divine wilderness. He was ranked 2nd, and his position in the divine wilderness was equivalent to flawless holy man of the heavenly Tao. However, unlike flawless holy man who was proficient in formations and calculations, Sky Splitter Supreme God's position in the 2nd place was completely based on his own abilities. In terms of combat strength, he was definitely 2nd only to the top 10 supreme experts. Even Sword Master Bai Heng, who was qualified to be one of the top 10 supreme experts, might not be much stronger than Sky Splitter Supreme God. I didn't expect Sky Splitter Supreme God to personally lead the team this time. This batch of dust repellent stones can be said to be free. The pale-faced man said with a smile. Dong dong, go and rest. Divine Sovereign Sky Splitter's voice was as loud as thunder. Alright, with Sky Splitter leading the group and the top experts like Qi Wuming, Hurricane, Xue Xiao, and Luo Huanghan assisting us, unless the Heaven Dao or Divine Dao sect comes out in full force, otherwise, there'll surely be no match for us. Dong Dong forced a smile. I still have to see you when I get back. Alright, you should go and rest. Sky Splitting Hierarch waved his hand. Even Sky Splitter Supreme God had to show some respect to the Voidwalker. After all, the current divine wilderness was different from the ancient times. In the ancient times, raising one's personal space to the 10th order could be said to be for the sake of world creation. But now, let alone world creation, even the Saint Realm had become an extravagant hope for many people. Under such circumstances, raising one's personal space to the 10th order was basically a waste of the primal chaos grade, and it was also a suicide mission. It was for this reason that the number of Voidwalkers was so small, and thus the Voidwalkers had a high status in every faction. When Sky Splitter Supreme God asked Dong Dong to go and rest, Qi Wuming had already soared into the sky and released a large warship. This warship was slightly inferior to the Thunder Punishment Daelord's warship in terms of might and majesty, but it was still better than most of the warships on the market. After releasing this warship, the thousands of Saint Realm cultivators who had been transported from Dong Dong's personal space directly stepped onto the warship without needing any instructions, and they quickly got into position to operate it. After Sky Splitter Supreme God and the other almighty figures stepped onto the warship, Sky Splitter Supreme God took a step forward and his voice reverberated like thunder throughout the entire warship. I don't need to say anything unnecessary. We've received news that a huge mineral vein has been discovered on the Kong-Li continent. This mineral vein contains thousands of dust-repellent stones with Dao rhymes, and the number of dust-repellent stones alone is estimated to be as large as 4,000 cubes. A few hundred years ago, we fought with the Heavenly Dao over the Kong-Li continent because the Heavenly Dao had set up a large formation on the Kong-Li continent, causing us to return in defeat. But this time, the location of the dust-repellent stones is far away from where the Heavenly Dao had set up the formation, so my mission is very simple. Dig out all the dust-repellent stones in this mine as quickly as possible, and anyone who stands in our way shall die. Understood. Everyone on the warship responded in unison. Let's go. Sky Splitter Supreme God waved his hand fiercely, and amidst a roar, the warship shook slightly and gradually accelerated. Soon, it rose into the clouds, broke through the wind and waves, and disappeared from everyone's sight. At the same time, on an island less than 100 kilometers in diameter, about 600,000 kilometers to the west of Golden Conch Island, A Voidwalker also descended. With the arrival of this Voidwalker, his personal space opened, and a total of more than 3,000 people leaped out of this personal space. Among these 3,000 people, there were 2 people leading and 3 people assisting. If the people standing here at this moment were Firmament Master, Zongjin Master, Yuanri Master, or other veteran experts who were familiar with the experts of Heaven Wasteland domain, they would definitely be able to recognize that the 2 leaders of these 3,000 people were the brilliant Sun Emperor and Black Light Emperor of Eternity. In Eternity, those who could be crowned with the title of Emperor were all powerhouses of the Saint Realm. The Way of the Heavens wants to deceive everyone by sending a Thunder Punishment Taoist Master to the Kongli continent on the pretext of avenging his junior. How could they not know that they are simply deceiving themselves? Now that the Heaven Wasteland domain is in a precarious situation, no matter how furious the Way of the Heavens is towards the Kongli continent, they would at most send a few experts of the Golden Core realm over there. Why would they send a Taoist master? The brilliant Sun Emperor had a mocking smile on his face. The heavenly Tao is being too smart for their own good. They thought that we would not overlook this detail, but how could they have thought that a Taoist master would suddenly leave during such a sensitive period? How could it not arouse the suspicion of others? Moreover, the heavenly Tao, the divine wilderness, eternity, and even the other forces, which one of them do not have spies in each other? We only need to mobilize our spies to investigate a little and we will know where the problem lies. In addition, we have not given up spying on the Kongli continent and have left some seeds of the immortality realm to continue searching for the dust-cleansing stones in the Kongli continent. Now that this matter has broken out, how could we not have received any news? Emperor Blacklight nodded as well. All right, in order to avoid any unexpected changes, we should hurry over. Otherwise, the people of the Heavenly Tao will set up an array formation at that mine. Once they set up the array formation, even if it's only the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord, it will be very troublesome. The brilliant Sun Emperor said. Emperor Blacklight nodded. Then, the group of people boarded a large warship and quickly rushed into the clouds, disappearing without a trace. Based on the speed of their warship, it would only take 3 or 4 days to reach the Kongli continent. As the people of the Divine Wilderness and Eternity rushed to the Kongli continent, the Heavenly Tao also received news that the Thunder Punishment Taoist Master had been captured. When this news reached the ears of the flawless Tao Master, who was currently presiding over the Heavenly Tao, he could not help but be slightly taken aback. The next moment he immediately gave an order and immediately, information from the Divine Wilderness, Eternity, Grand Supreme, Sword Shadow, Celestial Vault, and other forces gathered in a steady stream, quickly filling up his desk. After gathering all the information and using the deduction art to calculate, the flawless Tao Master's expression turned somewhat ugly. The problem lies with Celestial Vault. The flawless Taoist Master muttered to himself. Under the effect of the deduction art, the information was quickly organized and summarized. Celestial Vault, Illumination, Divine Ghost Sect, Khanate Charm, Rainbow Sword Sect, Fourth Sword Master. When all the information was gathered together, it already pointed to another truth. Zhu Zhao and the others got a mysterious sword saint from the White Rainbow Sword Sect to cooperate with the innate divine charm they obtained from the Divine Ghost Sect. They didn't give it to esteemed Zhu Zhao to speed up his recovery. Instead, they gave it to the Firmament Swordsman, who had a level 17 divine weapon, to condense the domain origin and step into the divine realm. It was because he stepped into the divine realm that the White Rainbow Sword Sect had a 4th Sword Master, which led to the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord being captured. The flawless Tao Master's mind constantly flickered with inspiration. After a while, he frowned again. According to the information he received, the 4th Sword Master of the Rainbow Sword Sect seemed to be a man called Tsing Hui, and this person was secretly accepted as a disciple by esteemed Illumination. However, when he thought of the information he had obtained from the simple investigation of Tsing Hui, this person had cultivated for less than 40 years, no matter how high his talent was, it was impossible for him to become a sword master. Therefore, this should be a smoke screen jointly released by the Celestial Vault and the Rainbow Sword Sect. The Celestial Vault Sword Master? The radiance in the flawless Tao Master's eyes gradually sharpened. The Celestial Vault Sword Master wields a 17 divine weapon. Once he condenses his domain and steps into the divine stage, he will definitely become a second-tier existence. Even if I want to defeat him, I can only rely on my calculations and experience. Therefore, if the heavenly axiom really rashly sends the divine sword master to rescue the thunder punishment Taoist master, he will be trapped there. Since he wants to rely on the secret of his breakthrough into the divine stage to plot against the heavenly axiom, then I will let him get what he wants. I will beat him at his own game. I will use the Void Sky Taoist Master as well as the Black Heaven Taoist Master and the Moshuan Taoist Master as bait. Then I will send the Divine Sword Master to kill this person. After a brief calculation, the flawless Tao Master came to a decision. He said to the door, "Ask the Styx River Holy Man, Zhurong Holy Man, Wusei Holy Man and Qingwei Holy Man to come and see me." The Styx River Holy Man and the Zhurong Holy Man were respectively the third and fourth Grand Tao Masters of the Heavenly Axiom. These two people had frightening powers that could barely be classified as second-tier Divine Sword Masters. If the Wusei Holy Man and the Qingwei Holy Man were included, the power of the four Tao Masters combined was not inferior to the battle of the 5 Divine Sword Masters against the Illumination. Chapter 657. Xinghui, I just received news that Eternal's Brilliant Sun Emperor, Black Light Emperor, and Divine Wilderness's Sky Splitter Supreme God announced that they were in closed-door cultivation 2 days ago and disappeared without a trace. They are most likely heading for the Kongli continent. Furthermore, the Heavenly Way is also restless. The Anisrava Holy Man has secretly summoned the Styx River Holy Man, Zhurong Holy Man, Wusei Holy Man, and Qingwei Holy Man. If I'm not wrong, they must be heading for you. You need to retreat quickly. As Xinghui patiently waited for the Heavenly Way to take the bait, the Firmament Master hurriedly contacted him in the Chaos Temple and brought him this news. For divine sages? Xinghui frowned. The current situation in the Infinite Wasteland is not stable. The Heavenly Way sent 4 divine sages at once. Such a huge movement should have been carried out secretly. How did we find out? It's news from the Shadow Sword. The Firmament Master said, the Shadow Sword has always been mysterious. They have very secretive spies in the Heavenly Way, Divine Wilderness, and Eternity. In terms of information channels, I'm afraid that other than the Divine Mysteries Pavilion, no other power can compare to them. For divine sages. Xinghui's eyes flashed. I want to try. Don't underestimate the 4 great divine saints of the Heavenly Way. Furthermore, other than the 4 great divine saints of the Heavenly Way, you have to pay attention to the sky-splitting Divine Master. The sky-splitting Divine Master is the closest to the ultimate stage in the Divine Stage. He was once ranked among the ultimate stage, but was later replaced by the Jade Emperor Holy Man. I remember that you fought with the Sword Master Bai Heng before? More than 40 years ago, the Rainbow Sword sect had a conflict with the Divine Wilderness because of a Tao item. One of the Rainbow Sword sect's powerful figures was chased to the ends of the earth by the Divine Wilderness. At that time, Bai Heng appeared and defeated the pursuers of the Divine Wilderness. Then he faced off against Sky Splitter Supreme God and lost by a narrow margin. That powerful figure had no choice but to give up the Tao item to save his life. Bai Heng lost by a narrow margin. Xinghui's expression turned solemn. He'd fought Sword Master Bai Heng before. Based on the level he'd attained when he'd cultivated Sword Force, he could only barely suppress Sword Master Bai Heng. Only after consuming the infinite Tao fruit did he dare to say that he was confident in defeating Sword Master Bai Heng. Of course, this was under the condition that Sword Master Bai Heng hadn't concealed his strength. For Divine Sovereign Sky-Splitting to be able to defeat Sword Master Bai Heng, even if the other party was weaker than him, it wouldn't be much weaker. At that time, as long as he had another divine being by his side to assist him, the difference in strength would immediately change. Xinghui, if you plan on tangling with those 4 divine beings, then we'll have to take action on our side. The Divine Tao sect has an outpost on the Karma Peak 6,000 kilometers away from the Rainbow Sword sect. Because that outpost has a 12th order array and a divine being personally overseeing it, they've always been monitoring the Rainbow Sword sect. They've completely nailed down Sword Master Penguang of the Rainbow Sword sect, preventing him from easily leaving. This time, we'll take advantage of the fact that the majority of the Heavenly Tao's strength has been projected onto the Karma Peak. We'll join forces with the Rainbow Sword sect and Sword Shadow to attack the Divine Tao sect's Karma Peak. We'll uproot the Karma Peak and even kill the Divine Tao sect's Karma Peak in one fell swoop, freeing the Rainbow Sword sect's forces. Master Firmament said in a deep voice. Xing Hui immediately understood what Master Firmament meant and said, "Don't worry, Master Firmament, I'll think of a way to delay the 4 divine beings of the Heavenly Tao. I won't let them rush to the Karma Peak so easily." Yes, on the Heavenly Tao's side, the Chaos Taoist Master is still in closed-door training and can't move. The leakless Holy Man also needs to oversee the situation and can't move unless something major happens. It's said that the Li Hen Holy Man hasn't returned to the Heavenly Tao yet and is still trapped in the void. Of the 8 holy men, only the Tai Emperor Holy Man can be mobilized. Even if the Divine Tao sect can send 3 divine beings as reinforcements, with the strength of Master Firmament, Rainbow Sword sect, and Sword Shadow, we'll be able to flatten them in one fell swoop. Therefore, as long as you can delay the 4 divine beings for a period of time, we'll definitely win the battle on the Karma Peak. However, if that's the case, we'll probably have to wage an all-out war with the Heavenly Tao, won't we? Xing Hui said. A faint smile appeared on Master Firmament's face when he heard this. There's a piece of good news that we haven't told you yet. Just yesterday, Master Zhu Zhao came out of his closed-door training. Xing Hui's eyes lit up when he heard this. Master Zhu Zhao he. Master Firmament nodded with a smile. That's right, he's already entered the profound void realm. Even though he still can't kill the Chaos Taoist Master, in the battle against the Heavenly Tao, our Firmament, Rainbow Sword sect, and Sword Shadow are no longer at a disadvantage. Not to mention, the Black Flame cult has also surrendered. If the Heavenly Tao really wants to launch an all-out attack against our alliance over the Karma Peak, then what's the harm in us accepting the challenge directly? All right. Xing Hui clenched his fists tightly. Now that Master Zhu Zhao had broken through to the profound void realm, Master Firmament could sit back and relax. Other than that, the problem of activating the teleportation array on the Fortune mainland could be solved. Now, all that was left was to wait for the auction of the spatial crystals. Master Firmament, go ahead and do what you need to do. Leave the Kongli mainland to me. All right, but you have to remember that you have to prioritize your own safety. Xing Hui smiled faintly. Master Firmament, don't you have faith in my ability to protect myself? Master Firmament thought of the backtrack technique that appeared when the Chaos Taoist Master reached the 40th level and laughed. All right, I'll be waiting for your good news. Xing Hui nodded and left the Chaos Temple. Tell Su Fei to come see me. Xing Hui ordered. Soon, Su Fei and Su Qiubai appeared outside Xing Hui's courtyard. Greetings, Senior. There will be many true Saint Realm experts descending. I need to put on a show. You don't need to panic. If anyone wants to take over the Bieli Mountain Range's mine, just hand it over to them. You just need to protect your own life. Remember, this matter is only known to the 2 of you. Do not tell a third party. Su Fei and Su Qiubai were a little confused, but they still complied. We will follow Senior's instructions. Xing Hui finished speaking and waited quietly. In less than half a day's time, he suddenly opened his eyes. At the next moment, he was like a stream of flowing light, soaring into the sky with a whoosh and flying toward the horizon. At the end of the horizon, a huge battleship broke through the wind and waves, sweeping up a mighty aura as it approached. It was less than 300 kilometers away from the mine in the Bieli Mountain Range. On the battleship, the muscular Master Firmament Splitter was standing on the deck with a huge sword on his back. No matter how strong the wind blew, his huge cloak fluttered loudly behind him. However, his expression did not change at all as he stared at the horizon in the direction of the Bieli Mountain Range. This time, I will personally take action and oversee this place. I would like to see just who dares to recklessly challenge me, the sky-splitting ultimate god. Master Firmament Splitter's expression was cold. However, in the next moment, he seemed to have discovered something and suddenly roared in anger, "Junior, you're courting death." Rumble. Domain explosion. A terrifying domain with a suffocating force swept out and instantly enveloped a radius of more than 10 kilometers. The domain's power was vast and mighty, and a figure appeared less than 100 meters away from Master Firmament Splitter. He was immediately hit by the domain's power and spat out blood. The figure that was forced out by the domain's power roared. Sword chi burst out and tore a crack in Master Firmament Splitter's domain. Then he exploded with extreme speed and tried to escape. Unfortunately, it was useless. And, "How dare you sneak attack me, Master Firmament Splitter?" With a furious roar, the terrifying 2-meter-tall sword on Master Firmament Splitter's back shattered the cloak and suddenly fell into Master Firmament Splitter's hand. Then, the sword slashed down and a suffocating force exploded from the huge sword. The figure that was restrained by the domain's power and had difficulty moving could only let out a scream before he was slashed into powder by Master Firmament Splitter's furious sword. He died on the spot. Master Firmament Splitter. Almost at the same time that Master Firmament Splitter killed the sneak attacker, the Almighties who followed Master Firmament Splitter, Xue Xiao, Qi Wuming, Luo Huanghun, and Hurricane appeared beside Master Firmament Splitter at the same time. Looking at the mysterious figure that was killed by Master Firmament Splitter 100 meters away, these Almighties could not help but gasp. What a terrifying concealment technique. I actually did not sense any aura at all. 100 meters. He actually lurked 100 meters away from us, but we did not even react. If Master Firmament Splitter had not noticed this kid in time, as long as he lurked beside us and suddenly attacked, even if we had monstrous techniques, we would only have a dead end. Xue Xiao, Luo Huanghun, and the others felt a chill in their hearts. This kid's concealment technique is indeed unparalleled in the world. I suddenly noticed when he was 100 meters away from me, so I attacked with all my strength in anger. At such a close distance, I did not dare to hold back at all. Otherwise, who knows what methods he would use to launch a sneak attack on me. Master Firmament Splitter looked at the mysterious expert that he had killed with a single strike of his sword, and his expression was slightly solemn. Who can stop him when he uses this concealment technique for assassination? Even the gods might fall for it if they are careless. No wonder our spies in the Void Distance continent said that the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord was captured alive. When facing such an opponent, the slightest mistake would lead to eternal damnation. Even the Heavenly Tao would have a headache when facing such an opponent who is adept at concealment. This is probably why he dared to challenge the Heavenly Tao. All of you need to take this as a warning. As you command, Master Firmament Splitter. Xue Xiao, Qi Wuming, Luo Huanghun, Hurricane, and the others responded at the same time. Since this junior has been killed by me, it's time for us to take over this mine. As Master Firmament Splitter and the others spoke, the warship had already arrived at the mine in the Separation Mountain Range. With a wave of his hand, many Saint Realm experts immediately jumped off the warship and surged into the mine. Su Fei, Su Qiubai, and the others who had received Xing Hui's orders in advance did not dare to resist and quickly retreated from the mine. However, before Master Firmament Splitter and the others could completely take control of the mine, a warship had already arrived. Immediately after, in another direction, the Black Sky Tao Lord, Mo Sun Tao Lord, and the others who belonged to the Heavenly Tao's camp also arrived. The Heavenly Tao, Divine Wilderness, and Eternal, the three great organizations immediately gathered on the Void Distance continent again. Chapter 658. Yaoyang, Heiguang, and Tiandao brats, if you want to take this mine from me, let's see if you have the ability to do so. Sky Splitter Supreme God laughed fearlessly as he looked at the Tian Dao and Eternal Dao forces that were rushing over. After laughing for a while, he turned to look at Dao Master He Tian and Dao Master Mo Sun. He bared his teeth and his face was full of mockery. Didn't that old bastard Wulu say that he's flawless? He actually sent the few of you here to die? You should rejoice that the kid who occupied this mine was killed by me. Otherwise, with your abilities, you guys won't even be enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. He only needs to be careful and patient, and one by one, he will be able to kill all of you like chopping vegetables. Tao Lord Void Sky, Tao Lord Mo Sun, and Tao Lord Black Sky exchanged glances. In the end, Tao Lord Black Sky stepped forward and said in a deep voice, "Supreme God Sky Splitter, you said that you killed the mysterious expert who occupied this mine and captured my heavenly Tao's thunder punishment, Tao Lord? How can it be fake? That brat has mastered an extremely powerful assassination technique. He silently lurked less than 100 meters away from me. If it wasn't for the fact that my domain origin was constantly circulating, I'm afraid I would have fallen into his trap. He's really impressive. Even I, a divine realm expert, am in such a state. If it were you juniors who don't even have a domain origin, that brat could easily take your heads off. Isn't the heavenly Tao sending the few of you to your deaths? Brat. Tao Master He Tian, Tao Master Mo Sun, and the others had a bad feeling. According to the flawless holy man, the person who captured the thunder punishment Tao Lord should be the Sky Dome swordsman, Yu. Furthermore, Yu was a female lawful embodiment of heaven and earth expert. Why was it that according to the Sky Splitter Supreme God, it was actually a male? They didn't think that Sky Splitter Supreme God would lie to them about this matter. Based on their understanding of Sky Splitter Supreme God, he wouldn't bother to scheme over such a trivial matter. What about the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord? It's none of my business where the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord went. Sky Splitter Supreme God only wanted to flaunt his achievements a little. He didn't intend to explain it to Tao Master He Tian and the others in detail. Instead, he waved his hand at the people from Sky Splitter Supreme God and the Eternal. Alright, what I want to say is that I've already taken possession of this mineral deposit. The few of you should quickly retreat. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. Although Sky Splitter Supreme God and the Eternal have appeared harmless recently and even said that you want to join forces with us to rule this great world, if you really annoy me, then all of you will die here. Sky Splitter Supreme God, according to our people's investigation, there are a lot of dust cleansing stones produced in this mine. The total value is thousands of Tao rhymes. I'm afraid that you alone might not be able to swallow such a huge amount of profit. I think it's better for the two of us to divide it equally. A few hundred years ago, Sky Splitter Supreme God relied on the formation to achieve a great victory on the Kongli continent and forced us to hand over the dust-cleansing stones on this continent. Now that Sky Splitter Supreme God's rule on the Kongli continent has ended, it should be our turn. Why don't the two of us join forces to excavate the mineral deposit here and fight against Sky Splitter Supreme God? The brilliant Sun Emperor stepped forward and said in a deep voice. Although they had two great saints on their side, they didn't have much confidence in defeating Sky Splitter Supreme God, who had once been on the Supreme Expert list for a period of time. Join forces? Brilliant Sun, you don't have the qualifications to talk about joining forces with me. If you want to join forces with me, get your Eternal Tai to talk to me personally. Otherwise, get as far away as you can. Sky Splitter Supreme God's body shook impatiently and the huge sword on his back suddenly flew up and landed in his hand. Don't tell me that Sky Splitter Supreme God really sent you here to die. That's an insult to our intelligence. Hurry up and get your leader to come out. Otherwise, all three of you will die here today. Why are you so angry, Sky Splitter Supreme God? A figure suddenly appeared beside Tao Master Su Tian as soon as Sky Splitter Supreme God finished speaking. Just like how the Divine Wilderness had Dong Dong, the Voidwalker, Tao Master Void Heaven was a Voidwalker of the Heavenly Tao. However, this Voidwalker had previously announced that his personal space was not even at level 10, but from the looks of it he had been hiding his abilities. Zhurong? Sky Splitter Supreme God tilted his head and glanced at Zhurong Holy Man. Then, he glanced at the brilliant Sun Emperor and the Black Light Emperor. After that, he cracked his neck and a series of cracking sounds could be heard. The few of you are enough for me to use my full strength. Then what are you still talking about? The three of you can come at me at once. If the three of you win, I'll turn around and leave. If the three of you lose, then leave the Kongli continent. If you dare to step onto the Kongli continent again, don't blame me for killing every single one of you. Zhurong Holy Man, the Brilliant Sun Emperor and the Black Light Emperor looked at each other and came to a consensus. Then let me see what Sky Splitter Supreme God is capable of. Zhurong Holy Man roared. In the next moment, he had already attacked Sky Splitter Supreme God. The power of his domain swept out and turned into a world of fire. Standing in the center of the world of fire, a majestic figure rose behind Zhurong Holy Man. This figure was at least 1,000 feet tall and was covered in hellfire. There were bull horns on his head, and he looked like the king of fire demons that walked out from purgatory. As he roared, he summoned a long whip of lava and attacked Sky Splitter Supreme God. Seeing Zhurong Holy Man make his move, the Brilliant Sun Emperor and the Black Light Emperor didn't dare to hold back. Sky Splitter Supreme God was once on the ultimate powerful cultivator list. Even though he didn't secure his position and was soon eliminated, no one could deny that his powers were second only to the ultimate powerful cultivators. For a time, the three sainthood experts fought in the sky. Terrifying and vast ripples of energy wildly permeated the sky, forming circle after circle of destructive shockwaves that swept out in all directions. Everyone who witnessed this scene trembled in fear. When the battle between the three divine state cultivators erupted, the Black Heaven Holy Man entered the Chaos Holy Hall immediately and passed on the news to the Anasrava Holy Man. Holy Man, the situation is progressing as you predicted. Now, the Heavenly Way has joined forces with the Eternity Sect, and we plan to expel the Divine Wilderness. However, there's an accident. The one on the Kongli continent isn't the heavenly sword wielder that you predicted. It's a powerful cultivator with an unknown identity who is adept at assassination. The Thunder Punishment Holy Man is really like what we initially heard. He was ambushed because he wasn't careful. Isn't it the heavenly sword wielder? The Anasrava Holy Man didn't panic and remained calm. Then my guess is right. This is a trick to lure the tiger away from the mountain. Lure the tiger away from the mountain? The Black Heaven Holy Man was slightly taken aback. Then, he thought of the consequences of using the incarnation technique to descend on the Kongli continent and his expression changed. The Heavenly Way didn't hesitate to use the dust-cleansing stone with thousands of Taoist rhythms as bait. What do they want to do? Damn it, the Heavenly Way's holy masters are all on the Kongli continent. If they really want to make a move, we're in big trouble. What are they doing? The Anasrava Holy Man smiled as if he had expected this. According to the information I've gathered, they're probably going to attack the Divine Path sect and release the combat power of the White Rainbow Sword sect. After all, as far as I know, the White Rainbow Sword sect has become much stronger recently. The Divine Path sect? The White Rainbow Sword sect? Holy Man, then we have to get the Holy Masters to return immediately. Return? The Anasrava Holy Man smiled faintly. Are there any other Holy Masters in the entire Kongli continent other than the Zhurong Holy Man? The Styx River Holy Man and the others have already infiltrated the Divine Path sect and are waiting for the Heavenly Way, the White Rainbow Sword sect and the Sword Shadow sect to make a move, and now. Wu Leekless Holy Man raised his head and glanced in the direction of the Divine Path sect. The war should be about to erupt. In fact, this was not much different from what the Anasrava Holy Man had predicted. At this moment, on Firmament's side, Venerable Firmament's team, Sword Master Bai Heng, Sword Master Long Rainbow, and Sword Master Yu Ying from Sword Shadow, the four Saint Stage experts directly charged towards the Nail the Divine Tao sect had left in the White Rainbow Sword sect's encampment, Karma Peak. A great battle immediately erupted on Karma Peak. The Saint Stage expert on the Karma Peak, Heavenly Lord Huada, decided to beat them at their own game. He activated the formation and sucked Master Firmament, Sword Master Bai Heng, Sword Master Long Rainbow, and Sword Master Dark Shadow into it. Before the four of them could break out of the formation in time, 6 figures emerged from the Karma Peak at the same time and stood guard over the Karma Peak's level 12 protective formation. Heavenly Lord of Water Virtue, Heavenly Lord of Cloud Virtue, Heavenly Lord of Shangshan, Styx River Holy Man, Sword Master Wu Sei, Sword Master Tai Huang. Venerable Firmament, Sword Master Baiheng, Sword Master Long Rainbow, Sword Master Yu Ying, and the rest were all shocked when they saw the 6 Saint Stage experts suddenly appear. This lineup was almost equivalent to half of the Heavenly Way's strength. Firmament, Shadow, and Long Rainbow, our holy man has already calculated that once the Heavenly Way's experts leave at the same time, you will definitely make a move. After some analysis, we concluded that what you want to do most is to remove the nail that is the karma peak. Therefore, we have already made sufficient preparations and we're just waiting for the few of you to take the bait. Today, if the 3 of you do not leave 1 or 2 people here, don't even think about escaping unscathed. The Styx River Holy Man, who had the highest status among them, could not help but laugh. There were a total of 7 divine sages on their side. Among them, the Styx River Holy Man belonged to the second category. His combat power was above the normal divine sages. Even though Venerable Firmament and Sword Master Baiheng were on the Heavenly Way's side, they still had an absolute advantage with the level 12 protective formation behind them. It was because they realized this point that Venerable Firmament, Sword Master Baiheng, Sword Master Long Rainbow, and Sword Master Yu Ying turned serious. Venerable Firmament's gaze stopped on the Styx River Holy Man and the rest for a moment before he made a decision in his heart. This Wu Lu Holy Man is indeed scheming. Originally, I did not intend to reveal the matter of the Zhuzhou Holy Man. After all, if he makes a move at the crucial moment, he might be able to kill one of the divine sages. But now, it seems like if I do not borrow the power of the Zhuzhou Holy Man, things will not end well. In that case, I shall reveal this trump card first. If everything goes well, I may be able to use this battle to make the Heavenly Way pay the price. Chapter 659. Sky Splitting. The Firmament Sword Sect, the Sword Shadow Sect, and the White Rainbow Sword Sect battled against the Divine Path Sect and the Way of the Heavens. Far away in the Kongli continent, the Sky-Splitting Divine Master, the Brilliant Sun Emperor, the Black Light Emperor, and the Zhurong Holy Man were also fighting with all their might. Under the furious roar of the Zhurong Holy Man, the fiery demon's shadow that had just been mostly destroyed suddenly shot out a blinding radiance. Countless rays of radiance shot in all directions and were converted from pure energy into scorching lava, which quickly ignited the ground into a raging inferno. It was the divine spell. The enraged Zhurong Holy Man directly used the divine spell. Under the divine spell, the flames on the fiery demon's body naturally surged. The long whip that was completely formed from scorching lava was like a pillar that supported the heavens and earth as it swept towards the sky-splitting Divine Master's body. The moment it hit the sky-splitting Divine Master's domain, it caused this extremely condensed and turbulent domain to explode, forming a vacuum zone with a diameter of 5 to 6 kilometers. Death of the Great Sun. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the Brilliant Sun Emperor's figure, which was mixed with the aura of the divine spell, moved forward. The immense power of his domain rolled and crushed, shaking the power of the sky-splitting Divine Master's domain. In his hand, a dazzling ball of light that resembled a scorching sun expanded rapidly. In a breath's time, it had already turned into a blinding ball of light with a diameter of 10 meters. The light was so bright that even the many powerful beings who were watching from afar couldn't look directly at it. The energy waves that were released from the ball of light made these powerful beings tremble with fear. Fall, great sun. This great sun that had been condensed to the extreme exploded in the sky-splitting Divine Master's domain along with the Brilliant Sun Emperor's roar. Just the energy waves that were released from the ball of light had already torn the power of the sky-splitting Divine Master's domain into pieces. You want to fight me with this level of strength? Heavenly collapse. However, before the great sun could truly destroy the domain of the sky-splitting deity, the sky-splitting deity let out a long roar. The huge sword in his hand carried the power of heaven's fall that could tear the sky apart as it ruthlessly slashed at the resplendent great sun that had fallen into the domain of the sky-splitting deity. The power that could crush the void actually tore the great sun that shone with endless brilliance into pieces, allowing it to explode into blazing flames. The huge sword that he slashed out did not stop at all. It slashed into the brilliant Sun Emperor's domain and tore it apart like tofu. Then, it slashed at the protective armor that the brilliant Sun Emperor had summoned in time with an irresistible force. Boom! Light flowed in all directions. A shockwave visible to the naked eye spread out from the surface of brilliant Sun Emperor's armor. Even though he was inside the domain, the shockwave still swept out a radius of over 10 kilometers. The tremendous impact shook the brilliant Sun Emperor's body. The dazzling Emperor's eyes widened on the spot as he coughed out blood. His body seemed to have been invaded by a violent and scorching power. Large numbers of bloody lines appeared on his body as though he was about to be torn apart. Great dark sky. At the critical moment, Black Light Emperor, who was at the side, attacked with all his might. His domain enveloped and turned into a dark sky curtain. Within the dark sky curtain, one's sense of direction and 6 senses were greatly disturbed and affected, causing one to be unable to distinguish up, down, left, right, south, east, and west. Get lost! A loud roar came from the darkness. Then, the dark sky curtain that covered over 10 kilometers collapsed inwards, slightly before exploding outwards. Huge sword lights that carried power that was not inferior to the power of a divine ability slashed wildly in all directions like a storm, tearing the dark sky curtain into pieces. At the same time, the power of the sky-splitting deity's domain spread out from the dark sky curtain and rapidly expanded along the torn dark sky curtain, expelling the dark sky curtain. Sky-splitting. Your arrogance ends here. Under the delay of the dark canopy of the heavens, the Zhurong holy man of the way of the heavens seemed to have completed some kind of powerful secret spell. The gigantic figure of the fiery demon in his domain reached out, and the giant hand that was burning with raging flames turned into the sharp claws of a ferocious beast as it reached towards the dark canopy of the heavens. Boundless flames spread towards the sharp claws and caused the surrounding space to distort. The sharp claws reached into the dark sky curtain and quickly grabbed the sky-splitting deity out from the dark sky curtain. The flames on the claws clashed with the power of the domain of the sky-splitting deity and exploded into blazing flames. With the strength of the claws, the sky-splitting deity was about to be crushed by the claws. How can you hurt me with such petty tricks? Open up! The sky-splitting deity roared, and the power of the domain of the sky-splitting deity swept out from his body. It attacked the sharp claws that contained boundless flames and forced the sharp claws open. Burning his origin? Not good. When he saw this scene, the Zhurong holy man's expression changed. In the next moment, the entire claw detached from the fire demon's body. After that, radiance shot out in all directions and the claw exploded in the next moment. It was like a nuclear bomb that exploded in midair. Boundless radiance and heat waves filled the void space within a few kilometers. Boom, boom, boom. A deafening boom was mixed with the shock waves that were formed from the compression of the atmosphere. In the center of the shock waves, the sky-splitting deity roared and charged out from the destructive explosion. He charged into the domain of the Zhurong holy man, which had dimmed due to the depletion of the Balrog figure's domain of the sky-splitting deity. As he slashed down with his sword, a huge sword shadow was formed. It tore a huge hole in the Zhurong holy man's domain and slashed towards the Zhurong holy man wherever the sword radiance reached. The dim domain of the sky-splitting deity was like tofu that was being sliced. It couldn't resist at all and was destroyed inch by inch. Damn it, is the sky-splitting deity going all out? The Zhurong holy man opened his eyes wide and stared at the huge sword that destroyed his domain of the sky-splitting deity. He roared furiously, and the origin of the domain of the sky-splitting deity started to boil. The most obvious thing was that the Balrog figure that was about to dissipate suddenly solidified and grabbed the huge sword that the sky-splitting deity used to tear apart the domain of the sky-splitting deity was in his hand. When the huge sword clashed with the Balrog, a huge amount of flames shot in all directions. Do you think you can stop me? Sky-splitting slash. The sky-splitting deity roared furiously and his hair flared up. The huge sword that was trapped by the Balrog's domain of the sky-splitting deity suddenly collapsed. At the same time, the huge sword in the sky-splitting deity's hand split into three and turned into three huge swords. One of the three swords was still caught by the Balrog figure, but the other two pierced through void space and crashed into the Zhurong holy man's body with a thunderous force. The armor that the Zhurong holy man was wearing was pierced through by this sword. After that, the huge sword continued to penetrate the Zhurong holy man's body and penetrated his body, leaving behind a streak of blood-red light. Sky-splitting deity. Is the divine wilderness trying to start a full-scale war with the way of the heavens? The Zhurong holy man was furious. He no longer cared about restraining the sky-splitting deity's huge sword. The power of the domain of the sky-splitting deity spread wildly to protect his body. At the same time, he retreated rapidly and tried to escape from the battlefield. Start a war? Let's start a war then. Do you think the divine wilderness is afraid of you? Since we're starting a war, I shall kill you today and weaken the power of the way of the heavens. The sky-splitting deity laughed maniacally. He clenched his fist and the huge sword that had split into three merged back together. After that, he followed closely behind the retreating figure of the Zhurong holy man and slashed down with his sword again. The terrifying sword shadow that contained the power of the domain of the heavens completely overturned the retreating Zhurong holy man. Die. 2 elements of disintegration technique. At this moment, a voice sounded. Following that, the power of the domain of the heavens enveloped an Abhijna and infused it into the sword radiance of the sky-splitting deity. This caused the destructive sword radiance to split into two and its power was greatly reduced. Even though this level of sword radiance was still very threatening, it wasn't impossible for the severely injured Zhurong holy man to resist it. As he retreated, he extended his hand and a huge hand that contained boundless flames and lava reached out from the domain of the heavens. As his body collapsed into lava, he also destroyed the sword radiance. As for the other sword radiance, it was naturally blocked by another powerful cultivator who appeared to save the Zhurong holy man, Qingwei holy woman. The Black Light Emperor and the Bright Sun Emperor were planning to wait for the sky-splitting deity to focus all his energy on the Zhurong holy man before making their move. As they saw this figure, their expressions turned ugly. Venerable God Sky-Splitting paused and looked at holy woman Qingwei. Suddenly he laughed out loud. You people from the heavenly Tao are indeed sinister. There are 2 holy sages but you only let one of them show up. Are you waiting for me, Sky-Splitting, to fight against the eternal brilliant sun and black light to injure each other before you come out to reap the benefits? I remember that a few days ago, I got the news that the whereabouts of Zhu Rong and you, Qingwei, are a mystery. Even Mingyi and Wu Sei have disappeared with the excuse that they are in closed-door cultivation. I'm afraid they are here too, aren't they? Or are they? Let the 2 of them out. They are worse than rats. The Qingwei holy woman and the Zhurong holy man's expressions turned ugly. This was especially so for the Zhurong holy man. Not only did he burn the origin of his domain, but he was also pierced through by the sky-splitting deity's giant sword. His internal organs were crushed into pieces. His recovery ability had not reached the 10th level and was only at the 5th level. Even though this injury could not kill him, there was a huge hole in his body. If it was not treated quickly, it would be a serious problem. His gaze turned and landed on the Brilliant Sun Emperor once again. Brilliant Sun Emperor, you should have seen how powerful Sky-Splitting Hierarch is. If we don't do our best to cooperate, I'm afraid that the dust-leaving stone of the Kong-Li continent will be given to the divine wilderness. Summon Mingyi and Wu Sei from the gate of heaven first. The Bright Sun Emperor's face darkened. In reality, he did not save the Zhurong holy man in time because he wanted to borrow the power of the sky-splitting deity to weaken the gate of heaven. Just like when the sky-splitting deity attacked him, the Zhurong holy man did not try his best to block it. After all, the 2 of them belonged to different camps. After defeating the sky-splitting deity, they had to fight again. Naturally, they did not mind weakening each other before the battle ended. The Mingyi holy man and Wu Sei holy man are not here. The Zhurong holy man said seriously. The sky-splitting deity's lips curled into a mocking smile. Who would believe you? I swear to the heavens. The Zhurong holy man gritted his teeth and said, according to the calculations of the Wu Se holy man, there are two possibilities for the situation on the Kongli continent. The first possibility is that the Tianqiong swordsman has broken through to the saint stage and is luring the people of the Gate of Heaven to the Kongli continent. However, according to the sky-splitting deity, this is clearly not the case. There is only one other possibility, which is to lure the tiger away from the mountain. The Tianqiong swordsman, the Rainbow Sword sect, and the Sword Shadow sect want to lure the main forces of the Gate of Heaven to the Kongli continent. Their real target is the Divine Path sect. Therefore, the Mingyi holy man, Wu Se holy man, and many other powerful cultivators of the Divine Path sect are lying in ambush in the Divine Path sect. They are waiting for them to fall into the trap. Chapter 660. The Celestial Vault sect, the Sword Shadow sect and the Baihong Sword sect are involved? The Brilliant Sun Emperor was shocked. That's right. The Zhurong holy man said solemnly, everyone, there is the illumination of candles in the sky. According to the Wu Lu holy man's calculations, the illumination of candles will recover in the next 1 or 2 years. Furthermore, didn't they obtain an innate charm from the Divine Ghost sect supported by the Divine Wilderness not long ago? After Zhu Zhao recovers, he can cultivate this part of the innate godly essence. There's even a chance for him to reach the Paradise Emptiness stage. Once he reaches the Paradise Emptiness stage, with his powerful Abhijna, who will be his match before the most powerful of the 3 great powers. That's why the leakless holy man chose to focus on killing the Celestial Vault sect, the Baihong Sword sect, and the Sword Shadow sect. We're only here to save the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord. Saving the Thunder Punishment Tao Lord? That sounds nice, but it's because you don't think you have the power to take down the Kongli continent? The sky-splitting holy man waved his hand and said disdainfully. The sky-splitting holy man. The Zhurong holy man was enraged. If the Way of the Heaven wants to fight to the death with you, how much advantage do you think you have? Even though my battle strength has decreased, if the Qingwei holy woman burns her domain origin, she can still deplete most of your strength. What will you use to fight the Brilliant Sun Emperor and the Black Light Emperor then? Let me see if any of you can withstand the wrath of my Sky Splitter if I really focus on one of you and pursue you ferociously. The sky-splitting holy man laughed and his tone was full of disdain. What do you want? The Divine Wilderness will take 60% of the dust-cleansing stones on the Kongli continent. The Way of the Heaven and the Eternity will decide how to split the remaining 40%. The sky-splitting holy man waved his hand. 60%. Both the Zhurong holy man and the Brilliant Sun Emperor were enraged. Sky-splitting Supreme God, it's true that you're powerful and you have the greatest advantage among the 3 of us on the Kongli continent. However, isn't it a little too much to say that you're taking 60%? You can take 40% at most. This was related to the benefits of the dust-cleansing stone. Even though the price of the dust-cleansing stone was raised by the Way of the Heavens and its actual value was less than half, it was still equivalent to 5000 to 6000 Taoist charms. With 5000 to 6000 Taoist charms, 10% of it was equivalent to 500 to 600 Taoist charms. This was equivalent to almost half of the wealth of a holy sage. The Zhurong holy man, the Brilliant Sun Emperor and the rest were naturally unwilling to back down. What? You don't agree with me taking 60%? Then let's fight again. At that time, whoever is standing will be the winner. Supreme God Skysplitter, it seems like you really want to go against both our Tian Dao and eternal families at the same time? The Brilliant Sun Emperor said in a deep voice. The Zhurong holy man also shifted his position slightly. The 4 holy sages stood together and the power of their domains surged as they pointed at the Supreme God Skysplitter. The Supreme God Skysplitter glanced at the Zhurong holy man and then at the Brilliant Sun Emperor. He saw that the 2 families were about to put aside their differences and join forces against him. He could only snort, "I'll do it. I'll take 50%. Otherwise, let's just fight it out." I don't believe that the way of the heavens and eternal families can maintain such close cooperation. The brilliant Sun Emperor and the Zhurong holy man looked at each other. After a moment of hesitation, they finally nodded their heads. 50% it is then. After the two parties agreed, the brilliant Sun Emperor immediately raised his own request. Zhurong, the eternal family wants 30%. 30%? Zhurong, don't forget that the holy sages of the Way of the Heavens are probably involved in the battle against the Heavenly Sword Sect, the Rainbow Sword Sect, and the Sword Shadow Sect. They might not be able to spare enough strength to join the battle on the Kongli continent. However, the same can't be said for the eternal family, you. The Zhurong holy man's face darkened when he heard that the brilliant Sun Emperor was trying to force him. However, just as he opened his mouth to say something, the supreme god Skysplitter, who had gained the most advantage, suddenly roared, "How dare you!" In the next moment he waved the giant sword in his hand. The immense power of the realm swept up a frightening aura as it slashed towards the right side of his body. Wherever the sword radiance passed, the void collapsed. It was as if it wanted to devour all matter in the area and turn it into nothingness. It was a pity. His opponent this time was clearly not ordinary. A ball of blazing fire suddenly exploded in the void. The power contained within it was not inferior to the great sun death that the brilliant Sun Emperor used previously. The blazing and violent radiance collided with the giant sword of the supreme god Skysplitter without any fancy moves. It formed a dazzling radiance that swallowed everything within a few hundred meters. Bratitude, you're courting death. In the trembling flames, the supreme god Skysplitter glared at the figure that ambushed him. Then, he roared and was about to unleash his aura to annihilate the assassin. However, before he could attack again, the other party's sword radiance had already exploded in front of him. Furthermore, the speed of the attack was far faster than the supreme god Skysplitter could react. Just a second ago, he was still furious and wanted to take advantage of his victory to kill this cultivator who dared to sneak attack him on the spot. However, in the next second, his expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly pulled out his sword to defend himself. However, even though his defense speed was extremely fast, when the opponent's second, third, fourth, and fifth sword came bombarding him like a violent storm without any pause, it still completely destroyed the means he was proud of. When he barely recovered from this violent storm of attacks, the resplendent and violent sword light had already attacked him once again, completely engulfing his figure. Oh no! The supreme god Skysplitter had no time to react when he sensed the destructive power of the sword radiance. He roared in shock and a wave of spatial ripples emanated from his body. Then, disappeared. Teleportation spell? This is the teleportation spell. The supreme god Skysplitter escaped with his teleportation spell after being ambushed? What a fast sword! What a violent Abhijna! Where did this powerful cultivator come from? The Glorious Era sect, the Annihilation sect? Or is he from the Eternity? The Eternity doesn't have such a powerful cultivator. Oh no, he's coming for us. The Zhurong Holy Man, the Qinwei Holy Woman, the Brilliant Sun Holy Man, the Blacklight Holy Man and the others exclaimed in shock. As Tsing Hui turned his sword, they followed closely behind with their own domain powers. No matter who he is, let's chase him away first. The Kongli continent can return to the heavenly axiom, the divine wilderness and the eternity. However, we can't allow a fourth person to interfere. The four divine saints reached a consensus. As Tsing Hui lunged towards the Zhurong Holy Man, they roared at the same time. Their domain powers engulfed the area and swept towards Tsing Hui. The four divine saints reacted quickly. However, they underestimated the speed of Tsing Hui's assassination. Furthermore, as he channeled the shadowless celestial spell to the fullest, he concealed his aura to the extreme. Coupled with his light-chasing Abhijna, the four divine saints were unable to accurately lock onto his body. Just as they reached a consensus to chase Tsing Hui out, Tsing Hui's figure had already appeared behind the severely injured Zhurong Holy Man. His sword aura descended. The sword aura, which was based on the 142nd level of spiritual power, carried the weight of Mount Tai as it slammed into the Zhurong holy man's domain. The Zhurong holy man's domain had already been slightly burnt in his battle with the supreme god Skysplitter. He was currently in a weakened state. Faced with Tsing Hui's sword aura, his spiritual power was greatly shaken. Not good. The Zhurong holy man's consciousness trembled. Tsing Hui's sword aura contained the characteristics of destroying one's soul. The domain itself was a special force field that existed through the combination of one's own aura and the laws of nature. His aura was forcefully crushed by Tsing Hui's aura. It was as if a cultivator in the spiritual unity stage had been forcefully suppressed to the spirit cultivation stage and had lost the characteristics of the spiritual unity stage. In an instant, the power of the domain was completely suppressed and was almost out of the Zhurong holy man's control. Open up! The Zhurong holy man sensed the danger and immediately roared. The origin of the domain burned again, and the power of the domain, which was originally low, suddenly surged. He only needed a breath's time to completely crush Tsing Hui's sword aura. It's too late. With a soft cry, the aura of the divine spell exploded from Tsing Hui's body. Relying on the understanding of the laws of nature brought about by the limitless Tao fruit, the sword of sunlight that he slashed out tore through the void. A terrifying black crack appeared at the tip of the sword. Seeing this black crack, the Zhurong holy man's eyes widened. His breathing seemed to stagnate. Crushing vacuum. Crushing vacuum. This is the offensive power of the crushing vacuum? Rip. The moment this black crack came into contact with the power of the Zhurong holy man's domain, it sliced through the Zhurong holy man's domain like it was tofu. Even though the Zhurong holy man had the support of the origin of his domain, he still couldn't resist the sharpness of this sword. Retreat. In this life and death crisis, the Zhurong holy man did not hesitate. He seemed to be about to activate his teleportation spell and retreat. You want to leave? Lihen Heavenly World. Tsing Hui seemed to have seen through the Zhurong holy man's thoughts. He pressed down with his hand and the Lihen Heavenly World came crashing down. Buzz buzz. The Zhurong holy man was shocked. The Lihen Heavenly World could not block the teleportation spell. However, as a spatial domain type 16th order treasure, it was able to delay the operation of the teleportation spell for a moment. In addition, this treasure that belonged to the Lihen Heavenly Man had a certain impact on the Zhurong holy man's mind, causing his movements to slow down. This delay was the difference between life and death. Splat. The sword radiance tore through the sky. The deep scarlet sword, which contained the power of the crushing vacuum, slashed into the Zhurong holy man's body without stopping. Even though the Zhurong holy man had a decent defensive armor, it had been destroyed by the sky-splitting holy man once. Its energy had not fully recovered. How could it resist the deep scarlet sword's crushing vacuum? Flowing light crushing. The deep scarlet sword's sword radiance did not stop as it sliced through the Zhurong holy man's head, causing a blood-red glow to appear. At the same time, the spatial ripples of the teleportation spell spread. As the Zhurong holy man screamed in disbelief, the ripples wrapped around his body and his decapitated head. They tore through the weak restraining power of the Lihen Heavenly World and disappeared into space. Chapter 661. Boom Boom Boom. Almost at the same time that Tsing Hui killed the Zhurong holy man, the Qingwei holy woman, the brilliant Sun Emperor, and the Black Light Emperor's attacks came crashing down. Even the 16th order domain type treasure, the Lihen Heaven domain, did not last more than half a breath under the attacks of the three divine saints. It was easily destroyed. However, half a breath's time was enough. Whoosh! Tsing Hui's body shook and he seemed to have turned into a ray of light. Before the three domain-type powers came crashing down on him, he shot out like lightning and escaped from the three domain-type powers. At the same time, he turned again and avoided the attacks of the three divine saints and went straight for the Qingwei holy woman. Zhurong? Lihen Heaven domain. This is the Lihen Heaven domain. You're Cho Tsing Hui? You're Cho Tsing Hui, the disciple of the Zhuzhao clan? Cho Tsing Hui can't have this kind of ability. Who are you? How dare you provoke the divine wilderness, eternity, and heavenly way? How dare you, dark sun aura? The remaining 3 saints roared at the same time. Among them, the Black Light Emperor attacked again and a blazing sun exploded in the void. However, the power of this explosion was not a shockwave, but a light. Boundless and dazzling light. The moment this light exploded, everything within a radius of tens of kilometers was filled with light and the energy waves of the Black Sun Aurora. Even the brilliant Sun Emperor and the Qingwei Holy Woman lost their senses of the outside world for a moment, and their eyes were filled with nothing but white. However, their blankness did not last for more than a moment. As the Black Light Emperor waved his hand, the two of them regained their senses and saw Tsing Hui, who was less than 1,000 meters away from the Qingwei Holy Woman. "You're courting death. Qingwei, stop him. I'll give him a fatal blow." The brilliant Sun Emperor roared and a vast and terrifying energy wave started to gather in his hand. It was as if a blazing sun was being born. This was his divine ability, the Great Sun's demise. Its power was so great that even divine sovereign sky-splitting could not underestimate it. When the Qingwei Holy Woman witnessed how Tsing Hui defeated the sky-splitting Holy Man and the Zhurong Holy Man, she was a little uneasy. She wanted to retreat, but after hearing the brilliant Sun Emperor's words, she gritted her teeth and waved her hand in the face of Tsing Hui's sword radiance. The power of her realm surged and entangled with Tsing Hui's sword radiance. Taiji turns into yin and yang. Yin and yang give birth to the 4 divisions, and the 4 divisions give birth to the 8 trigrams. Holy Woman Qingwei continued to use her abhijna. Countless streams of abhijna light wrapped around Tsing Hui. The sword that tore apart the power of his domain continued to divide the power of this sword into 2, for if there was no then. Just as the Qingwei Holy Woman was able to dissipate Tsing Hui's first sword radiance, his second sword radiance followed closely behind. It was like a falling great sun that crashed into the Qingwei Holy Woman's domain. The vast and mighty energy wave carried a terrifying aura and crushed the Qingwei Holy Woman's domain. Just the shockwave formed from the collision of the 2 forces had already formed a vacuum with a diameter of 1,000 meters. Furthermore, Tsing Hui's third sword radiance had already formed on the deep scarlet sword. Why isn't he affected by the Black Light Emperor's abhijna? Could it be that he's the secret weapon of eternity? Yes, his abhijna is very similar to eternity. It's violent and blazing. This kind of abhijna can't be blocked. Even the sky-splitting Holy Man was killed by him, and the Zhurong Holy Man couldn't even withstand a single blow from him. He's definitely someone who's close to the ultimate stage hidden in eternity. He might even be an ultimate stage existence. If we continue to fight, I'm afraid I'll die here. The Qingwei Holy Man watched as Tsing Hui's sword radiance crushed his abhijna and domain into powder. It was as if a peerless divine weapon was used to chop vegetables. He was pressed to the ground and ground mercilessly. He couldn't care less about the glory of the heavenly way or about avenging the Zhurong Holy Man. He didn't even care that using the teleportation spell on the Conli continent would result in a teleportation error. He didn't even care about the consequences of falling into a void. He activated the teleportation spell without hesitation. Buzz buzz. The ripples in space dissipated. He escaped. Tsing Hui wasn't the only one who was stunned by this scene. Even the brilliant Sun Emperor, who was preparing his ultimate move, was stunned. In reality, Tsing Hui wasn't immune to the effects of the mystical sun aurora. This abhijna was very similar to his light sensory deprivation, which was why he had a decent resistance to this abhijna. Furthermore, the mystical sun aurora caused the surroundings to be filled with white light and the senses of cultivators were distorted. However, Tsing Hui could use his aura examination spell to lock onto his target. Under such circumstances, he could still pinpoint the location of the Qingwei Holy Man accurately and launch an attack on him. This caused the Qingwei Holy Man to misunderstand and escape with his teleportation spell. Then there's only the 2 of you left. Since the Qingwei Holy Man escaped, Tsing Hui couldn't be bothered to pursue him. The characteristics of the Chaos stage were the most unreasonable. Even the resurrection spell and backtracking spell were among them, let alone the teleportation spell. This was also the reason why the Way of the Heavens, the Divine Wilderness and the Eternity stage were much stronger than the other powers. It was difficult to kill a divine sage. Other than the divine sages who didn't have any items that could raise their chaos stage to the 30th level, most of the divine sages used the teleportation spell as a life-saving skill. There was even a saying in the divine wilderness world that one wouldn't leave without teleportation. If one couldn't kill the other divine sage, there was no need to talk about annihilation. Wait a minute, who are you? The brilliant Sun Emperor was also injured by the heaven-splitting divine sage. His condition wasn't much better than the Zhurong holy man. He stared at Tsing Hui and distanced himself from Tsing Hui. He was bewildered. Based on what you've shown in this battle, I'm afraid you're not inferior to the heaven-splitting divine sage. You're definitely not a nobody. Which power do you represent? Sword Shadow? The Xuanji Hall or the Heavenly Vault? I'll tell you if you can take 100 strikes from me. Qing Su chuckled gently. With a turn of his body, he had already attacked the brilliant Sun Emperor again. Before he had even arrived, his sword arrived first. The radiant light from the sword of sunlight brought with it surging waves of heat, erupting like an erupting volcano. The scorching power within the strike was no weaker than the brilliant Sun Emperor's death of the great sun. Damn it. The brilliant Sun Emperor roared and smashed the death of the great sun in his hand towards Tsing Hui. He didn't even look at the result of this attack. He shouted at the Black Light Emperor, "Let's go!" Emperor He Guang glanced at the brilliant Sun Emperor who was dispirited before glancing at Qing Su who was no weaker than the sky-splitting god. He sighed and sighed. From today onwards, a new supreme expert will be born on heaven's desolate land. With this regret, he quickly met up with the brilliant Sun Emperor and boarded the Eternity battleship dozens of kilometers away. They quickly retreated. Rumble. The death of the great sun and the sword of sunlight collided in the void and exploded. It was like a blazing sun that emitted endless light. The intense light radiation filled the surrounding dozens of kilometers. As for the shock wave that swept over, it was as if it wanted to completely tear the entire sky apart. However, before the explosive power completely dissipated, Tsing Hui's second and third sword of sunlight tore the brilliant Sun Emperor's death of the great sun into pieces. The sea of flames that burned the void seemed to have been split into two halves. The shocking scene made the brilliant Sun Emperor even more determined to retreat. Although he was tyrannical and superior to ordinary divine realm experts, he was still inferior to Tsing Hui, who was second only to supreme masters. In other words, he was an invincible existence who had reached the level of supreme masters. Even though he had the Black Light Emperor by his side, he had no confidence in this battle. Eternity, now is not the time to deal with you. Tsing Hui's gaze paused on the brilliant Sun Emperor and the Black Light Emperor for a moment. Then, he turned around and rushed in the direction of the three Tao Lords of the Gate of the Heaven as fast as he could. Quick, let's go, let's go! Tao Lord Su Tian, Tao Lord Black Heavens, and Tao Lord Ma Xuan of the Gate of the Heaven had already retreated as far as they could from the battlefield after witnessing the Zhurong holy man's death. When they saw that the Qingwei holy woman did not hesitate to activate her teleportation spell to escape, they turned around and left. In just a few moments, they had already escaped more than 100 kilometers away. However, 100 kilometers was nothing to Tsing Hui. In just 1 or 2 breaths, the battleship that Tao Lord Black Heavens, Tao Lord Su Tian, and Tao Lord Ma Xuan were on appeared in front of him. When they heard the deafening explosion behind them, Tao Lord Su Tian, Tao Lord Black Heavens, and Tao Lord Ma Xuan's expressions changed drastically. Oh no! He's coming after us? Damn it, does this person have a grudge against the Gate of the Heaven? Otherwise, why would he target us instead of chasing after the Eternity and the Divine Wilderness? Now that things have come to this, we can only abandon the battleship and escape at full speed. He's too fast, we can't escape. Quick, give me all your Tao-carrying items. My chaos level is now 28. I only need 200 Tao-carrying items to activate my teleportation spell. When the time comes, I'll use my personal space to bring all of you in and escape using my teleportation spell. This is the only way. Tao Lord Su Tian, Tao Lord Black Heavens, and Tao Lord Moshuan panicked. 200 Tao carrying items was only 100 each. Although this was a large sum of money for the two Tao Lords, they could still gather it if they gritted their teeth. In this life and death situation, the two Tao Lords couldn't care less. They immediately took out their Tao carrying items and handed them over to Tao Lord Su Tian. However, just as the two of them took out their Tao carrying items and handed them over to Tao Lord Su Tian, a terrifying sword aura that was as heavy as Mount Tai slammed into the three Tao Lords' spiritual world. Even though the three Tao Lords were all elites in the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth, they still felt their brains shake violently when faced with Tsing Hui's spiritual world that had been infused with the Thorn God's secret art. It was as if someone had used a huge hammer to smash them, causing them to feel dizzy and completely stupefied. Chapter 662. Oh no! Tao Master Su Tian's mental strength was obviously higher than that of Tao Master He Tian and Tao Master Mo Feng. He was the first to wake up. He didn't even bother to take away the treasures of Tao Master He Tian and Tao Master Mo Feng. Instead, he directly raised his chaos level to level 30 and activated the teleportation technique. As a Voidwalker, his wealth was no less than that of any saint. The reason he had mentioned that his chaos level was only at the 28th level was because he wanted to extort some Taoist treasures from Taoist Master Dark Sky and Taoist Master Moshuan. However, compared to Taoist treasures, his life was obviously more important. Su Tian, Tao Master He Tian, who had forced himself to wake up, seemed to have understood something. When he saw Tao Master Su Tian escaping using the teleportation technique, he immediately let out an angry roar. However, before he could do anything, Tsing Hui's sword intent exploded again. This time, it wasn't as heavy as Mount Tai. Instead, it turned into a blazing sun and directly shone into their spiritual world. Instantly, it burned the sky and boiled the sea. Whoosh! Tsing Hui appeared beside Tao Master He Tian and Tao Master Mo Feng. He directly grabbed the two of them and used his true chi to knock them out and capture them alive. Tao Master He Tian. After capturing the two Tao Masters, Tsing Hui looked in the direction of the Divine Wilderness. At this moment, the people of the Divine Wilderness had already disappeared. He didn't chase after them. Instead, he immediately projected a part of his consciousness into the Chaos Divine Palace and stepped into the courtyard of Venerable Master Heaven in the Sky Dome realm. Not here. After glancing around, Tsing Hui's figure flashed and appeared in the External Affairs Hall where Venerable Master Tsongzhen was. Venerable Master. Tsing Hui didn't care about the members of the Heaven Dome realm who were queuing outside the External Affairs Hall. He directly entered the External Affairs Hall. When Venerable Master Tsongzhen saw this, he waved his hand at a Golden Core Realm Elder who was talking to him and said, "You can go and wait." After the Golden Core Realm Elder left, he asked, "How was it, Tsing Hui? Are you all right?" "I'm fine on my side, but I'm afraid something's wrong on the Firmament Master's side. According to the information I received from the Zhurong Holy Man, the Way of the Heavens didn't send the four great sages to the Conli continent at all. Only the Zhurong Holy Man and the Qingwei Holy Man went. On the contrary, the Anasrava Holy Man seemed to have predicted that we would ambush the Divine Path sect. He already sent the Nether River Holy Man, the Formless Holy Man, and the other saints of the Divine Path sect to ambush the Divine Path sect. What's the situation over there? Has the battle already begun? Anasrava, that old bastard? He really has a trick up his sleeve." "I knew it. He's used to calculating 3 steps before taking 1 step." Venerable Master Tsongzhen cursed. "When you took action, the Firmament Master and the others had already made their move. Now, I'm afraid the battle has already been going on for quite some time. But don't worry, although the Anasrava Holy Man is said to be flawless in his calculations, the Firmament Master is no pushover either. Before he took action, he already considered the possibility of an ambush and informed the Zhurong Holy Man and the others of their movements. I'll go to the courtyard where the Zhurong Holy Man is in closed-door cultivation to take a look." If the formation of the courtyard where he's in closed-door cultivation has been closed, it means that he's already come out to reinforce the firmament master and the others. If the Zhurong holy man is there, given his current void transformation stage cultivation. A smile appeared on Venerable Master Tsongzhen's face as he said this, as if he had already predicted the scene of the upcoming battle. The Zhurong holy man has gone? Can he make it in time? Of course he can. There's one thing that you probably don't know. After the Zhurong holy man raised his chaotic level to level 30, he focused on improving his teleportation technique. His teleportation technique has reached level 6 and is much more convenient than we imagined. In addition, he's been to the Karma Peak before, so he can teleport there in an instant. As Venerable Master Tsongzhen spoke, he quickly received news. The formation of the courtyard where the Zhurong holy man is in closed-door cultivation has been closed. He's gone to the Karma Peak, so you don't have to worry about the Divine Path sect. Xinghui heard this and nodded slightly. Before the Zhurong holy man had broken through to the void transformation stage, he was already ranked 4th among the top 10 experts, second only to the Chaos holy man, the Tai Emperor, and the Supreme God Ancient Wilderness. Now that he had stepped into the void transformation stage and had a divine object like the originator that was constantly absorbing mysterious Yuan Qi to strengthen himself, he probably had enough confidence to compete for the throne of the top expert in the divine wilderness. With him around, unless the Chaos Holy Man of the Heavenly Way came out of his closed-door cultivation, Firmament Master would definitely have a bountiful harvest this time. I haven't talked about you yet. How's your side? Venerable Master Tsongzhen asked with concern. I'm fine. The Zhurong Holy Man used his teleportation technique to escape from the Lihen Heaven realm, but before he escaped, he was decapitated by my sword. His body most likely fell into the space mezzanine and was ground to ashes. Even if he didn't teleport into the space mezzanine, I don't believe that he's lucky enough to have a son of chaos who pointed out the resurrection technique next to him. Besides, the Qingwei holy woman was also forced to use her teleportation technique to escape. Good. Venerable Master Tsongzhen slapped the table excitedly. Zhurong is dead for sure. The Conli continent itself has the effect of affecting teleportation techniques. Coupled with the Lihen Heaven realm, the probability of him falling into the space mezzanine is almost 99%. You've basically killed a divine being of the heavenly way. As for Qingwei, the dust-repelling stone of the Conli continent has the effect of reversing space, but this effect can only cause errors in teleportation. Moreover, it has a much smaller effect on teleporting people away from the Conli continent, so it's probably not enough for him to fall into the space mezzanine. However, if he's unlucky, we can't rule out the possibility of him falling into the space mezzanine. The environment of the space mezzanine is very complex. Even divine beings find it difficult to move around in it. Even if he's lucky enough to survive, it's still extremely difficult to find the way back. Xinghui nodded. The space mezzanine was still quite dangerous for many divine beings. It could be said that once they fell into the space mezzanine, the probability of survival was only half. If there's any news from Venerable Master Tsongqiong, inform me immediately. If you need my help, I definitely won't stand by and do nothing. Don't worry. If we don't make use of a great expert like you, it would be a waste of God's gift. Ha! Venerable Master Tsongzhen laughed heartily. The Heavenly Way had lost Zhurong Holy Master, and now that Venerable Master Zhuzhao had made his move, it was possible that he could kill another divine being of the Divine Path sect. In this way, the Heavenly Way's camp would lose 2 divine beings. In this way, the pressure on the alliance of Tianqiong, Jianying, and the Rainbow Sword sect would be greatly reduced. Tianqiong's good days were probably about to come. Under such circumstances, Venerable Master Tsongzhen, who was a senior elder of Tianqiong, was naturally delighted. Xinghui nodded and then left the Chaos Divine Hall. His gaze swept through the surroundings, and it directly descended onto the numerous Saint Realm experts that the 2 Tao Lords had brought with them. Everywhere his gaze passed by, all of them fell silent like cicadas in the winter while their eyes were filled with terror. They were utterly unable to arouse any intention to resist when facing such an invincible figure that could even kill a Saint Realm expert. The Heavenly Way has summoned you here to excavate the mineral deposits. Then, continue to carry out the orders. Once all the dust-repelling stones in the Kongli continent have been excavated, I'll let you all live. I'll divide you into groups of 100 and divide you into different mining areas. If anyone dares to resist or escape during this period, the remaining 99 will be executed. The Kongli continent will be your burial ground. Do you understand? Sing Hui's voice reverberated in the void. Immediately, some of the Oris core elders in the lead responded, "Yes, we understand." "Yes, Venerable Master." Sing Hui responded and brought Dao Lord He Tian, Dao Lord Mo Sun, and the battleship that belonged to the Heavenly Way to the mine in the Separation Mountains. At this time, the people of the Divine Wilderness had quickly retreated and the mine was once again taken over by Su Fei and the others. Seeing Tsing Hui land, Su Fei and the others quickly went forward and bowed to Tsing Hui with a trace of fanaticism in their eyes. "Welcome, Senior." They had witnessed the shocking battle that had erupted above the Farewell Mountains earlier. Now that the Heaven's Way, the Divine Wilderness, and the Eternity had all been driven away by Qing Su, it was obvious just how powerful Qing Su was. When he thought about how the people of the Su family were actually working for such a powerful god, Su Fei immediately trembled in excitement. Even Su Qiubai, who did not know much about the Divine Wilderness, the Heaven's Way, and the Eternity behind him, viewed Qing Su as a god who had repelled so many powerful enemies. "All right, everything will continue as usual. Now, extract the supreme-grade dust-repelling stones as soon as possible. I've brought you some miners. With them, the extraction of the dust-repelling stones should be much faster. You'll be in charge of monitoring them. If anyone tries to play tricks, report to me directly." Tsing Hui said. This battle was enough to determine the ownership of the Kongli continent. He believed that unless the Heavenly Way decided to launch an all-out war on the Kongli continent, the Kongli continent would belong to him without any worries. Su Fei glanced at the many people of the Heavenly Way that Tsing Hui had brought and hurriedly replied respectfully, "Yes." "Have the interrogation experts from the Heavens Will Palace been transferred over?" "Senior, they've all been transferred over." "Very good, let them come with me." Tsing Hui nodded and immediately entered the specially prepared interrogation room. The Thunder Punishment Dao Lord was still imprisoned in the interrogation room, and Scorpion was still interrogating him. However, the Thunder Punishment Dao Lord was an existence who had reached the level of heavenly manifestations of Earth, and someone who understood the heavenly ways would definitely come to save him. As a result, he actually managed to endure Scorpion's torture for a few short days. Now that he saw Qing Su arrive, the Thunder Punishment Dao Lord raised his head and glared at him as if he was in disbelief. You're actually not dead? Where are the people of the Heavenly Way?" Also, wasn't this mine controlled by the people of the Divine Wilderness? Where's the Supreme God of the Divine Wilderness? The Thunder Punishment Dao Lord's emotions instantly became unstable when he saw Tsing Hui enter the interrogation room. "Since I'm here, isn't it obvious what will happen to the Supreme God of the Heavenly Way and the people of the Heavenly Way?" Tsing Hui said indifferently. Then, he threw the Black Heaven Dao Lord and Mo Sun Dao Lord out. "In addition, I've also captured the 2 Dao Lords of the Heavenly Way alive. With the 2 of them accompanying you, I believe that there will be people who will share your joys and sorrows during the interrogation." You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.